I hate Super Bowl analysis.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, February 3rd, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1109.
This is No Agenda.
Trusting in the power of the GOAT and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio, in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the birds are dropping out of the sky. Well, not here. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill
in the morning. Please don't tell me you're going to start off with a hoax.
Oh, the dead birds in The Hague?
we got to play it so I can de-hoax you.
Hundreds of birds have fallen from the sky in The Hague, the Netherlands, during a 5G experiment to see how large the range was and whether the new wireless technology.
And what a fine outfit was broadcasting this piece that you thought, wow, this has got to be true. This sounds like a real mainstream outfit here.
No, I am talking to you on the podcast about this report.
Would cause any harm in the local area. News of the adverse effects suffered by the starlings was slow to break, as initially...
I think this is the same report they had for the windmills. They just added 5G, okay.
And by the way, the windmills, that's another thing. You know, when I was over there, I visited some of the major windmill farms who did these huge windmills. There was no dead anything around those things.
No.
You'd think there'd be feather. You think there'd be some feathers, some bird poop,
Now, there were dead birds in the park in the Hague, but it seems like there was some poisoning of the birds. That's why they forbid people from taking their dogs in for a while.
Hey, the way I looked at it with the beginning discussing dead starlings, I was all in. We need more dead starlings. We got them up in Washington State.
Hey, can you just imagine if maybe this 5G can electrify and nuke the grackle problem we have in Austin? Now that would be a benefit. These birds, they are creepy. They have their own Yelp page.
They do?
Yes.
Does anyone do you have a recording of them? Because they make a funny sound.
I can make one. I'll make one as we're walking by on 2nd Street, and they're all in the because they come in.
Take that little zoom.
Oh, that'll sound great in stereo.
Yeah, that thing will pick them up like a champ.
Now, there's plenty of problems with 5G. Plenty of problems with 5G. I don't think the birds got nuked by this experiment at all. We had one of our producers is in Canada, and I guess was it Canada? No, I got to think. I think he's on Rogers, and he has one of those phones that says 5G.
Yeah,
and so he did a speed test, speedtest.net, I think, in town, and it was like half a megabit per second. Went up to his home an hour outside of the city on 4G, 60 megabits per second. Yeah, this stuff is not quite.
So it's working faster on 4G.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the 5G stuff, well, we'll see.
It's nonsense. There's no way they're going to get whether they're bragging about 5 megabits per second. It will only take seconds to download a movie.
Well, hold on a second. Now, this is the wrong... I just got to say, since you bring this up, my experience throughout the internet, and I go a ways back, but also from the providing access either to client servers or otherwise... And it's not so much about speed. That's the consumer myth that's been sold to you. Like, oh, it's 5G, it'll be even faster. It's about the throughput. And I have seen throughout my career consistently for of course, I did big websites for Reebok and Continental Airlines and Budweiser. But even when we were doing Podshow /Mevio / whatever the hell it became, the fatter the pipe, the more bandwidth, not speed, the more bandwidth, the more media is consumed. And this is something important to understand with this 5G rollout. So if you're selling ads, and on whatever pipe you have, it could be a huge pipe. You make it bigger, it is just the law, it's the natural law of physics. You get more accesses and therefore can technically sell more ads. It's just a fact.
Okay.
So that would be a main reason for these idiots to try and, push this forward. I agree with you. I don't think it's all that great, and there's health concerns, of course. And, what it's really coming down to now is, hey, everybody, don't use Huawei, including Germany as of this week. As the U.S. has asked German providers to get rid of their Huawei equipment for 5G, which there is some reluctance towards.
Yeah, well, you spent the money.
It's very
Huawei's
expensive.
not going to take the gear back.
Exactly. Very expensive. But here's the thing. I don't think the market really believes it. I'm looking at the alternatives. I guess Nokia would be Nokia Ericsson. Well, Nokia Ericsson, they both had their trials. Their stock is dead in the water. It's not really moving anywhere. It's not like people are going, oh, Huawei is out. It's going to be these guys. I don't see it. So I don't know what this noise is about or what kind of guarantees we're going to get or if it even matters. Well, if it even matters, if somehow the Chinese will be able to shut down. The Huawei routers with all of that stuff. Nice. Did you not learn in podcasting school to hit your mute button when you snoz?
I had a mute button. If someone would send me one, I'd use it.
Oh, okay.
Now,
all right.
Let's go back to the Huawei thing. The next phone I'm getting is a Huawei.
Well, that doesn't sound like a very smart idea.
Why? You think you're going to spy on me?
Have you not seen Kingsman 2? I would be careful. No.
It's a nice phone. I've looked at them. They're pretty. They got all kinds of...
Why when you do a show with me twice a week, why would you want any kind of smart anything in your hands? Why do you want a phone at all?
Well, it's not. I didn't say I was going to use it.
Oh, it's just to look at it, to see how pretty it is. Or you're getting it for free. Maybe that's what's going on.
I wish.
Well, I wouldn't... I don't spend a dime on any smart stuff anymore.
Yeah,
no way.
You just make a big scene about it.
No, I walked past... we have this... Did I tell you this? We have the stupid Nest. Because the apartment has nests, and you're not allowed to remove it and all this. And so I've been looking at... all
soldering gun.
Well... I did the next best thing, essentially, is I turned on my Pi hole or, my monitoring, and I walked past the Nest. It immediately sent a ping to its logging server, just for me walking past it. So they're building a profile of what I'm doing in my own home.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Blocked. It's getting pretty good around here. You turn on the Roku. You know how if the Roku, you have your overview screen of your different services, and it has to the right, it'll show an ad of promote something to watch. Yeah, that's empty now with me. I've successfully made that box empty.
Oh, so that went away when you blocked those services.
Yeah, maybe it's getting that information from the same service or the same server it's reporting to.
So it just thinks you're not even on.
Kind of, yeah. It's just like, this guy's not here, or whatever.
Or at least that. The problem is these things are not consolidated. So the Roku box, because you're clicking on stuff, knows you're on, or it doesn't know you're on, but it just responds to your clicking on Netflix or whatever.
Just picking up the remote. The Roku knows.
Yeah, it knows you're on.
Yeah.
That part knows you're on. But so in other words, these services aren't talking to each other in some microservices aspect.
No, not yet.
They're not saying, hey, where's my ad? It's supposed to be over here. And the guy says, he's not on. Well, we think he is.
Yeah.
So it's not doing that.
No. And it's all just the Roku service. And then Netflix is just talking to Homebase all the time. When I'm not using it. So the app is not selected. Roku is on, but it's not, no app is selected. It's not streaming to my television. And Netflix is just talking to Homebase.
Now, this is, to me,
several times an hour.
A ridiculous waste of bandwidth that these things keep doing this.
Well, and this is another reason. No, this is another reason why 5G is the Valhalla for the, for Silicon Valley and all this stuff that is totally going to destroy our lives. It's already kind of getting there.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should do a article together on the Pi hole.
Oh, okay. That'd be good.
But not on the Pi hole building one, but
the concept, just the idea.
And discussing all these little things, because nobody thinks that when you turn on the Roku box that it's, hey, look, he's on. on.
You mean when
And
you pick up the remote?
Oh, he picked up the remote.
No one thinks about when you just walk through your house and the Nest sees you walking that it's report. It also pulls in local weather. You know, it's doing all these different things, trying to make decisions. I don't know if they're cloud-based decisions or whatever. I just want the thing just to stay at the temperature I set it to and not be changing all the time.
Zephyr.
Some things are consistent and always on time. So,
Cars.
okay, so where do we when we do this article and then we're gonna put it on
5 minutes late, by the way.
we're gonna put it on Medium. What's our outlet? Where are we going to publish this?
I wouldn't worry about it.
Hey everybody, we got to post on Medium. Maybe HuffPo will accept our submission.
The St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
Yeah.
You get picked up by Scripps.
But this is really what this war, this trade war, whatever we have. Well, it's not just a trade war. We still have the CFO of Huawei waiting to be extradited. I mean,
you think they'd get it over with? If they weren't, the Chinese weren't so upset about it, they just extradite her to the United States, and then they can make a fuss and get it. She's going to be in limbo forever if they leave it go on like this. She can't be happy.
Here's the one thing I wanted to ask you. Considering where the internet came from, considering the dominance of the English language, not just on the public internet, but in code, code is English.
Air traffic control, a lot of it.
Instructions, the commands, variables you can set to whatever you want. It's not
wire B.
What?
No, it's just we had instructions. These lousy instructions you get from the Asian companies.
Okay.
Put wire B.
Yeah.
Put wire B. What?
Please wait some time. That's my favorite menu. So please wait some time. But taking all that into account, yes, we need to be wary of China and their products and what they may be slipping into certain, we have to be able to see source code of stuff. But at the basis, do we not only have a head start, but can we not just say that our dude's name Ben, our dudette's name Bernadette, our hackers, they must be superior to anybody else in the world? Why do we give so much credence? I think our guys and gals kick their ass any day.
This is funny you brought this up. I don't have the list in front of me, but JC, who manages dude's name Ben, has come up with a whole thesis about what the different dudes name Ben culturally, who are the best ones and the worst ones and the ones that can't do this and the ones that can't do that. I have to get this list from him. We'll sit down and do it. But he does have one interesting thing, which coincidentally kind of backs up the kind of dudes name Ben we have. He says that the Muslim coders are stunningly superior to the general Asian coder.
And can he pinpoint as to why that is?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
But just in general, just our history, our legacy, our background. I think that we lost a lot of ground to Eastern Europe.
The Eastern Europe, yeah, he's got thoughts on that too. They work differently.
And Israelis, also have a. The Israelis got to be better than the Chinese. I just don't see why everyone's all upset about Chinese hackers and Chinese spying. They're just not that great.
What about the North Korean spiers?
Oh, please. Oh, please. This is the axis of evil. This is bull crap. What are they practicing on?
He did talk about the Chinese coders having a certain characteristic. And I don't remember what it was.
Characteristic, sure, maybe. But, just this, it's all, and, we had the National Threat Assessment, which is where Rachel Maddow came out freaking out that the Russians can turn off all of our heat everywhere.
Okay, turn off the heat. I'm using it. It's so cold here. I'm using a space heater. It's plugged into a socket, has a switch on it. But how are the Russians going to turn that off?
We need to teach some things to our kids.
How are the Russians going to turn off a fireplace?
Kids need to learn.
The Russians are going to turn off your fireplace.
Kids need to learn some certain basic, just as safe sex needs to be practiced, they need to understand safe use of technology. Well, and one day when we retire, when we exit rich, we'll start a scholarship called the Professor Ted Scholarship for the cyber prophylactics. Kids need to understand that everyone's given up. Oh, okay, it doesn't matter. Everything. I
time code down.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a real estate agent, We're trying to find a house, something affordable in Austin. And she has asked me something, so let me just text Tina. So I pull out my Nokia E71, and she does the typical, "What is that?" She literally said, "Oh, we have a brother in our family. He's kind of a project. He's 40. I think she's trying to say he was maybe had some learning disability. I want to be sensitive." And she said, "No, so we gave him one of those phones, but he wanted to flip." So just comparing me basically to someone who was retarded mental ability. And I said, "No, the reason I have this is so that when I'm talking with you, I'm not distracted. So that when I'm talking with you, I know no one else is going to be eavesdropping on the fact that we're together or maybe what we're saying. And when I'm talking to you, I want you to have my undivided attention. That's why I have this phone." And I'm working on this rap, but it's starting to work. When you say these three things, like, I don't want to be distracted when I'm talking to you. I don't want anyone else to know I'm talking to you. And I definitely want you to have my full attention, not something that's beeping, buzzing, and flipping and throwing off all kinds of
I think
alerts.
you need one more element. That third element is the same as the first element.
Okay. Well, we'll work on it, and we'll publish this in our Medium article as well.
You need three points.
Well, help me out
distinct.
then. But the one is, I guess distraction. Yeah, you're right. It's the same thing. I need a third one. Oh, here's the third one. And here is $5 from the money I saved. I'm not buying an iPhone. How about that?
That's a speed. That one is. I mean, it's you could throw that in as a bonus after your big three.
That's a bonus, or just a dollar, or just a dollar. And here's $1 because there's over 1,000 people who I'm giving $1 to that I'm not spending on an iPhone.
Yeah, I think we'll get the three.
We'll work on it. So anyway, no, birds are not dying.
What does she say? Does she roll her eyes and go, "What a rube"?
She went, "So do you do or you don't have?" No.
She was probably, first of all, stop. She was probably unaware that these phones can be used to see who you're having a meeting with. Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to do it, I don't believe, because I've heard too many butt dialing episodes where you can listen in on the phone.
Don't please. Okay, stop. I'm not going to allow you to pass that fake news off again. Butt dials go through a different system than through digital IP connections. When you're calling, if I called you on the phone right now, it would be a horrible connection. I call you on Skype, it's a great connection. Butt dial phones are not comparable to any eavesdropping a phone can do. You have to just stop.
I'm not buying a thing you're saying. People usually have the phone in their pocket. The thing cannot pick up, is not that good.
Okay. I'm not going to argue this.
Show me some evidence.
You're embarrassing yourself. I'm not going to argue this point again with you.
All right.
What you are correct about is the proximity. That is the number one tracking these things do. If you're next to someone, near to someone, that's when you start getting each other's recommendations. That's a big one. That's a big thing that they do. And eavesdropping, whether people believe it, look, kids believe it, so you don't even have to convince them anymore, even if it's not true. You ask any kid, of course, it's happening. They think that it's that. I believe it's purely proximity. One of your friends looked at something, the algos know you're together a lot, or from time to time. There you go. You start getting it. That's the whole thing. Anyway, get rid of them. And I'm
getting a Huawei.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's nice knowing you.
The Chinese will know who I'm hanging out with.
Yeah. Don't come to our wedding with that thing.
This guy eats a lot of Chinese food. We could probably turn him.
Today is the big Super Bowl. That's a big event.
Super Bowl Sunday, it's called.
Super Bowl Sunday. Big event here in the United States of America. It's being held in Atlanta, right? Yeah,
Atlanta.
So they've cleared out all the homeless camps?
I think they did. A lot of them.
I know they did. Like, hey, everybody, it's great. You can be here all year, but now you got to go. So just swept them underneath the rug. Get rid of them. I think we're going to have... It's always about the commercials, of course. We love watching the Super Bowl commercials. Let's see what kind of social justice warrior stuff we'll pass by today. I'm sure we'll have some.
Oh, that'd probably be the only interesting stuff. The rest of them are just overpriced commercials.
I believe that a Washington Post has taken out an ad, à raison de $5 million, so maybe more than one ad, and apparently they have.
No, that would be one ad.
Oh, it's really one. I it's up to $5 million for one ad.
I think that. I'll look up the price.
Crazy.
It's really high.
So apparently they have hired Tom Hanks to do a voiceover for this ad, and it's obviously about real news only found in the Washington Post.
Yeah, Washington Post is the only place that has news.
It's the only place that has actual news. That's good news. It's all good news. And as is traditional with the No Agenda show when it comes to big events, now this could be a big event, could be the Super Bowl as an example.
Okay,
it could also be the Eurovision Song Contest or the World Cup Soccer. We always like to choose the winner based on geopolitical data points and with the knowledge that all major sports games are rigged.
The price is up slightly from last year's $5.2 million.
Is that for 30 secs?
Yeah, I think that would be 30 seconds.
What are we doing here?
5.2 million. Well, let's see. No, here the NBC has an actual price, I think. Okay, it's 5.25 million this year for a 30-second spot during the championship matchup.
Fantastic.
$175,000 per second.
Nice. So
what are we doing here?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a second because we have options. But let's talk about the winner. We have the New England Patriots. Where are the New England Patriots? Where are the Patriots based?
The Patriots.
The Patriots. Where are they based?
They're all getting fat.
But what is their hometown?
Boston.
Oh, okay. New England Patriots. And then
they don't play in Boston.
They play in New England.
Yeah, this is just outside of town.
They play around.
Foxborough or someplace.
And then we have the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, we have the president tweeting about how horrible the refs were, even allowing the Rams to make it into the Super Bowl. So this needs to be taken into account. Kraft and the Patriots owner has said nothing bad about the president ever, as far as I can tell.
They're buddies.
Exactly. So that is another plus. But I think if you look at the hatred of the NFL, of the league, and the owners against the president and all that he stands for, and the pure power of the GOAT, I think the Rams are on deck to win.
Well, I think they're on deck to win because they have a better team. They're inexperienced in these situations, and this will be Brady's 9th Super Bowl.
Yeah,
which accounts for a lot.
But,
and
oddly, isn't he known as the GOAT?
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
That's the crazy part.
Greatest of all time.
Right. But the Rams are GOATs.
And the Rams are they're GOATs, yes, in a sense.
So not in a sense. The Rams are GOATs. So I think GOAT power.
GOAT power.
How can you be against GOATs?
GOAT power to the tune of Hot Pockets. Another suggestion.
Try it again.
From the lyricist sitting on this end of the microphone. GOAT power.
It's more like, let me give it a shot for you. Hold on. Let's see if I can do this. GOAT power.
Wow, I don't know how you can be so off key. It's 2 words.
It's hard.
Anyway,
it's very hard to do.
I think that I'll take another meta look at it from a non-geopolitical perspective.
Well, why bother with that? We can watch any cable news show for that, but okay, go ahead.
No, I'm taking it from a non-geopolitical spectrum.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to actually look at sports?
The point is that the Rams have been relocated back to Los Angeles from whence they were originated, from St. Louis, which was turning into a mediocre football town.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved them to Los Angeles, the big market, one of the 2 big markets, New York and Los Angeles being the 2. And Los Angeles has gone before the Chargers moved up there and before the Rams moved back 3 years ago, the Los Angeles was without football. And they were doing just fine with their baseball teams and especially with their basketball. They got 2 basketball teams in Los Angeles. One came up from San Diego, and they were doing just fine. And the NFL saw this as a huge problem because this is a massive market. They had to get football back into Los Angeles. And so they got the Rams. They have to win this game. It's just for the purposes of saving the league. And the league, it appears there's documentation. People are suspicious of the league fixing these games. And the reason that crazy play took place in New Orleans, which was not called, and yes, Trump's all upset, everyone's upset. I think there's reasons it could have been not called, but everybody disagrees with that. That was to make sure the Rams got into the Super Bowl so the Rams could win the Super Bowl to get interest back in Los Angeles to a peak. They're going to win easily. Or it might be exciting and they'll win at the end. But the Rams have to win this game because that's what the NFL needs.
All right. The Rams have to win this game because they're goats. End of. That's it. I'll give them 7 points on the spread. Good to go. Goats for the go. Now let's talk about options for us. I'm sure you saw the news that Spotify apparently is in talks to buy Gimlet Media.
Yeah, Gimlet. Yeah.
Now, so Gimlet is the former producer or creator of This American Life, I believe, who spun off and created
a bunch of This American Life clones.
Right. And we just went through the fact they have 100 people working on 38 shows. They got beautiful studios in Manhattan. No, wait. Is it in Manhattan? Well,
yeah, I think so.
It may be in Manhattan.
Yeah, Manhattan, high priced.
So they just had a final round. I want to talk about 2 things. One about what Spotify is off. Well, starting off, for any deal, when there's a buyout, and it's very shortly after, I think they've had 4 rounds of financing. The last round, reportedly, according to Crunchbase, was a valuation of $70 million, which is not all that huge after 4 rounds. But they had 4 rounds, so they keep having to pump money in. To have this deal not officially announced by anyone, but sources say, I think is very bad. In general, you want the announcement to be, hey, Spotify bought us for X, or maybe not even mention a number. To have sources say they're in talks, the number is 200 million, bad. Would you agree from a business perspective?
Well, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. I don't know that it's bad.
Usually it means that the deal is not
going to happen.
Well, not in a stage where it's going to happen. So somebody leaked something or spoke too soon.
Over a Chinese meal.
So that's one. But second, so this is great for podcasting. Well, maybe, and I wanted to discuss it with you briefly. We have received an offer from Spotify for the No Agenda show. We have received an offer with numbers, and it's an actual deal. I shared it with you a while back, if you recall. Okay.
Keep talking.
You don't remember? Well, I'm under non-disclosure. I cannot discuss the details of the offer. But let me tell you that they're talking big numbers, but complete exclusivity. Right down to no feed. So it would be, I'm not kidding. You would only
Those
be able.
Numbers better be really big.
They're actually interested. Well, it's in your email from 2 months ago.
Yeah.
We've been quiet about it because I'm under non-disclosure, so I cannot discuss the elements of the deal. But if this is really what they're doing, I think they're going to have a real hard time making the money for this, and it all has to be on Spotify from what I understand, but your feed is not your feed anymore. You can't just throw it anywhere you want. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to have a feed that has stuff included in it or whatever they want to do. But that offer is being put out to a lot of big podcasters. Now, our problem is I have no idea how many people listen to the show. We'd have to go in and qualify the logs and all that stuff, which I have no intention on doing. But I just wanted you to know. I thought that you hadn't seen this because you never replied to me about it. But yes, we received that offer. I'm like, yeah, it's not really a podcast anymore. It's a thing on Spotify. I don't know if we're that interested.
Yeah.
The only thing that's cool, and I personally might be interested in this, is you can do a music show on Spotify. But
oh, there it is. Hey, what can we do to get that Curry to come over?
I would never
he
go. He
still
without
thinks
you.
he's a DJ.
I would never go. They didn't. This was not a part of any talks or any offer. I'm just saying that is something that could be done. And I'm quite happy sitting where we are, just doing what we do for now. Let me see the spreadsheet. Let me see. Okay. Well, anyway,
Okay.
I wish the Gimlet Media people lots of luck, and I wish them many ads in their future. It's getting to be, it's really, I'd listen to maybe 6 or 7 podcasts in between our this last episode and this one, and it's getting a little annoying because you have to keep pressing the fast forward button on the ads. And, Joe Rogan, I haven't pulled enough clips from Joe Rogan had, what's his face from Twitter on?
Dorsey.
Dorsey. Yeah, but
who now is a member of the Taliban.
you have to go through 6 minutes of ads in the beginning of Rogan. I mean, especially in the beginning, everyone's going to fast forward through that. How can that possibly be effective? MeUndies and the Beats Juice and all that stuff. It's how if it's at the beginning of the show, like even Pod say I'm going to start pulling clips of people who think they're really intelligent, have really cool podcasts, such as Pod Save America, when these guys who are just sitting there telling you how the inner, because they worked in the White House, giving you the inner workings of the White House, and then have to switch and tell you how great this insurance product is. You can hear their disdain. They're hating it.
Oh, no. This is a good point. I've noticed this, too. These guys, Shapiro is one of these guys.
Same thing. Yes.
He
rambles.
This is the reason we've talked about this off the air. And we talk about Leo Laporte.
Yeah.
Leo Laporte.
Master.
He's a master.
Yeah.
He is the best
live read
master.
master.
He's one from radio where he had to be sincere and he had to do all these reads.
Yeah. And you believe
it.
He's
sincere when he tells you that this product is the best ever, and then they drop that advertising campaign and they pick up another one for the same type of product, and now this is the greatest thing ever. And he sounds extremely sincere because he knows how to do these. Shapiro, he rattles through the thing like, oh my God, I have to read this.
Yeah, well, you got to hear these schmarmy douchebags from Pod Save America, wrote speeches for Obama, and now they're sitting there reading, copy for Squarespace. To me, I find it very funny. Like, all right, boys, you go, you enjoy that.
And in fact, you have to be. That's required, and it's essentially an extension of radio. Personally, I've always been against this whole thing. When you don't have there's like maybe 5 guys in the country. I mean, Limbaugh can do a good read.
Mm-hmm.
That can do these. That can actually sell you something with their manner of selling you by doing a read of an ad copy piece of paper that's sitting in front of them.
Right.
There's very few of them. I think the ad should be produced. Just like a regular television ad. You don't see anybody on television stopping the show. I mean, like they did in the 1950s and go on and on and on about something. Tide.
Yeah, man, but it's podcasting. We have much more engagement with the listeners.
I think it's a myth.
Yeah, I think it's a myth too.
When I hear Shapiro going, oh my God, you can just hear it in his voice. He doesn't like these guys. He doesn't like the product. He doesn't like doing this read.
Yeah.
Give him a pre-programmed ad to run, to play.
Anyway, I can tell you that when we do a donation segment, about 15% drop off and come right back up after we're done. And I think that's a good drop off. It's minimal.
Yeah, it's very minimal.
It comes back, and people I think have realized that there's also content in that segment.
Yes, and our content's sincere because we're not promoting a product that somebody says, here, promote this. We're promoting our producers and whatever thoughts we have during the segment.
Now, I've been looking at Fox News and CNBC specifically. I believe they are pre-sold in a big scheme to sell any Altria vaporized product. For those who do not know, Altria used to be known as R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris, and I think there was one other company that all rolled up into this Altria, or they rebranded, and this is the guys who bring you the Marlboro Man. So this is the cigarette, big tobacco. Let's call them big tobacco. The nice name, Altria. They saw the writing on the wall, and they purchased Juul for $13 billion, which was largely cash. $13 billion, and that's a vape product. And I've been watching these ads, and I've been waiting for them to make their move, and finally they've figured out, with a new study no less, what we need to do and what's going to happen. So they have announced they will be doing self-critical ads in the United States, but also Juul has a new television campaign which fits right along with the study that just came out.
A year-long study on the use of e-cigarettes turns up some surprisingly positive results. Jonathan Sari is live in Atlanta with the story. We always love good news.
We've had just bad story after bad story, and all of a sudden, but it's good now.
Here, Jonathan, what's behind the study?
Certainly good news for e-cigarette users. A team of British researchers has determined that e-cigarettes are actually more effective in helping people quit smoking than traditional nicotine therapies, such as patches that you wear or gum that you chew. How did they arrive at this? Well, they followed more than 800 smokers over the course of a year. What they found is 9.9% of the group receiving traditional nicotine replacement were able to abstain from smoking during that year-long period. However, the success rate was almost twice as high, 18%, for the group using e-cigarettes. This new study, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, is likely to bolster the e-cigarette industry, which has been trying to market its products as a safer alternative for adults who already smoke but want to quit. However, many public health officials say they're concerned e-cigarettes may provide a gateway to traditional tobacco use among teens because they're marketed in all sorts of different enticing flavors. Although e-cigarettes lack the carcinogens that you inhale while smoking traditional cigarettes, critics point out that they contain nicotine, which is highly addictive.
Yes. So from now on, they should be referred to as Big Nick.
Big Nick.
Big Nick. That's what they are. Big Nick. Now, they're all in.
This is right out of the Bernays playbook from the 1920s.
Literally, when he wanted women to smoke.
Yeah.
Tell the story.
It's a bogus story planted. You pay somebody to, you can do this with most universities that have any research capabilities whatsoever. It can cost you $10,000 maybe. It might not even cost you that much. You can go to some of the professors leading different departments and say, hey, I need to do this. I want to find out whether this does that or not. And I'll pay for the study. And they put the students to work, and they'll do a study, and it'll be authentic. It'll be they have the right stats. They do it right. And you get it at UC Davis, so you can go up there and have them do something on wine. How much sulfites are in the average bottle of wine? You can have them study it, and you can put a report out, and it's official. And you can do this and marketing guys know this, and they go out and they come up with an idea. And if you put the research study together properly, where you almost guide it by what you're looking for. I'm looking for this. See if you can prove this. And then they go out and prove it, and they give you the report back. Now it's yours to distribute, or depends on how the deal was arranged.
Right.
And you can roll it out. And you can send it with press release. Press release goes out.
But
and
was it
everybody
not?
Gets the press release.
Was it
they
not?
think that's separate from the advertising.
Was it not Bernays who wanted to promote the smoking of cigarettes by women? And he had, wasn't it like as if they were suffragettes in a parade walking up Fifth Avenue smoking in public? Yeah. It was a fantastic campaign, and he got. I mean, from that we got Virginia Slims and a whole branding.
Well, he's the one who developed the ideas of influencers, brand influencers.
And he was ahead of his Instagram time.
And so, brand, in other words, you get some famous person, Cary Grant, somebody's very famous, everybody likes, and they all admire because he's a big set actor, and you have him smoking. You get people who, I like the way he looks smoking. I think I'm going to do that, because most people just look at, they have their influencers, and they look at them as role models. Let's call it role model. That's why everyone's all bent out of shape when somebody's supposed to be a role model, doesn't want to be one. He's just a punk. And they just condemn him until he becomes a role model because he's got too much power to be just some punk. He's going to have a bad influence on the kids. And so this is all part of the scheme. Sure.
I love it. I'm all for vaping. You know, I'm a big proponent. Just like I saw the talking tubes coming down Broadway. I saw this vaping coming down Broadway. And now we'll have limited choice. It was fun while it lasted in our little cottage industry of making e-liquids. I'm sure we'll be able to still get some illegally from someone made up in the bathtub. But Big Nick is here to stay, and I expect them to do a lot of ads denouncing their previous product, which, let's face it, the cigarette was just the administration vehicle. It's always been about the nicotine.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, it's everybody wins. Your clients
everybody wins, and there's money.
Yeah, your clients don't die as fast from your product, so it's good. I think this is a very good development. But Fox News, CNBC, they've been on it from the get-go, because they've been all of, oh yeah, finally we have the study now. Oh, now it's great. Big Nick, my friend Big Nick.
I remember the time I was listening to Michael Savage, who was getting all worked up, bent out of shape, which is the best part when his show's always best when he's like completely freaked. And he's bitching about some guys that came over to his office and they had this advertising vehicle they wanted to put together, and they had a term for it. And he was moaning and groaning. He said he'd never do this in a million years. And it had to do with they're going to give you all this money to have this one expert has to come on once a week to talk a little bit about something that they're promoting, and then and then you have to talk about it favorably and all the rest of it. And it was just a very complex, one of those complex advertising deals, which a lot of high-end advertising salespeople put together.
Right.
And it says he refuses to do it, and he threw him out. So, but meanwhile, he goes to a commercial. I flipped the channel to the Hannity show, which was on at the same time. He's actually doing it. He's implemented it.
He's doing the
on. It's going on. As I, wow, that's what he's talking about.
Oh, that's funny. Now,
These guys, it's corruption.
Yeah. Well, we can always go to Spotify.
Spotify.
We often talk about how things that have clearly been proven demonstrably false and admitted so remain true
in the lexicon true
in the lexicon of what M5M has created for all of us. Yeah. And something that is cropping back up, and I think it has to do with a lot of different circumstances, but Mike Pence, the big homophobe. This is coming back. Mike Pence, big homophobe, conversion therapy. Now, we went through all of this, and I actually had to go back into the archives, bingit.io, if you want to do some research. And this was about, it really was 14 words Mike Pence uttered, I believe. And from that moment on, he became a guy who wants conversion therapy for the gays, hates the gays, is against the gays. So I shall debunk first and then show you what happened, how it's coming back, and how it always stays. It remains to be false in the lexicon. Mike Pence. So there was I think it was in a bill, and or an opinion on a bill, and it was about money to go towards an anti-HIV program helping gay men reduce high-risk sexual activity. And so he wanted to take away money from one AIDS program and put it into this other one. And the way he described it was, he said, here it is. He wanted to, darn it, I can. This debate today is not about discrimination. I believe that if someone chooses another lifestyle than I have chosen, that is their right in a free society, which, has been turned into this, I hate the gays. And yes. And he said, I'm trying to find this. Here it is. He was advocating for public spending on conversion therapy in Indiana. But what he actually said is if someone wants to change their sexual activity to reduce their risk, which is not the same as saying we're going to ungay you. It's like, hey, maybe you should change your sexual, maybe your promiscuity and use more protection so you don't, or so you have a lower risk of contracting AIDS. But that somehow turned into, and I put it all back in the show notes. It's turned into. I don't think
he's ever mentioned conversion therapy.
The word conversion therapy has never come into it. It was literally him saying, I think this money is better spent in helping people choose a less promiscuous lifestyle when it comes to AIDS, HIV, and AIDS. But here's how it was portrayed by Ellen Page, actress, Cutie Pie. She's from, is she X-Men? I think she's in that. She's Canadian. She's not American. So anyway, but she brought down the house on the Colbert Show by propagating this lie unchallenged, and it was set up and ready to go because when she talks about her wife, she's married, Colbert had a picture of them ready to go, of the two of them, their wedding picture, which he had on a printed board. So this was a set-up thing, and I'm sorry, it's just a lie.
I'm really fired up tonight.
This is how you have to be fired up.
It feels impossible to not feel this way right now with the president and the vice president, Mike Pence, who wishes I couldn't be married. Let's just be clear.
Now, for sure, Mike Pence is against any kind of marriage other than between a man and a woman, which is his religious feeling, his vibe, and that's his belief. No argument there.
The vice president of America wishes I didn't have the love with my wife. He wanted to ban that in Indiana.
And note she says he didn't want me to have the love.
Yeah.
Not marriage, just the love.
Really,
just the love.
Uncalled for.
The vice president of America wishes I didn't have the love with my wife. He wanted to ban that in Indiana. He believes in conversion therapy.
Wow, that was like British Parliament almost, wasn't it?
Wow.
Order!
He believes in conversion therapy.
Lights up that says, oh.
Oh, yeah, instead of a laugh, applause, oh.
He wanted to ban that in Indiana. He believes in conversion therapy. He has hurt LGBTQ people so badly as the government of Indiana, and I think...
He's the government of Indiana. He's not the governor of the government. Yeah, and he's hurt them.
The thing we need to know, and I hope my show, Gaycation, did this, in terms of connecting the dots, in terms of what happened the other day to Josie. I don't know him personally. I sent all of my love.
This is the Empire actor who allegedly was assaulted by racists.
Yeah, it's just sub-zero weather. Yeah.
But I don't. Did they call him gay? Did they say something about his gayness, or was it just because he was black?
I didn't know that he was gay.
Yeah, well, this is what she's saying. It was because he was gay.
The guy.
I think he's pretty out.
Okay.
But yeah, the story, true or not, was about MAGA hats and racism, and now it's about gayness.
In terms of what happened the other day to Josie, I don't know him personally. I sent all of my love. Connect the dots. This is what happens. If you are in a position of power and you hate people and you want to cause suffering to them, you go through the trouble. You spend your career trying to cause suffering. What do you think is going to happen? Kids are going to be abused and they're going to kill themselves. And people are going to be beaten on the street. I have traveled the world and I have met the most marginalized people you could meet. I am lucky to have this time and the privilege to say this. This needs to stop.
Whoa! Yeah! And of course, this went completely unchallenged by Stephen Colbert.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You know, and it's okay. I mean, look, I'm not even going to say it. That's not the point. This is a lie, and it's just, I mean, what is going on? Go back to Canada.
Go back to Canada.
What the hell? You know, Mike Pence, I saw him do a speech the other day. The guy is creepy as AF. He's very creepy. He's creepy when he reads. He's creepy when he looks. When he looks at the prompter, he looks to the side instead of pretending to look straight at somebody. His eyes shift over. Someone's got to call him on that. Need to adjust that behavior. But
he's looking straight ahead, and then he looks at the prompter to the side.
Yeah, he kind of looks in the middle.
His head?
No, he kind of looks in the middle, and then still you can see his eyes shifting.
That's not good. That's a bad practice.
And he comes across as genuinely, a bit creepy, no doubt about it. But to say that he has spent his life hating gay people and trying to ruin them, and he believes in conversion therapy, this is just not true. I don't know. It's these things that just...
It's shameful.
It is shameful. And you know, do you know that there was 5 women were murdered in a bank this week? No, you didn't know that.
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah, the guy walks in, kills 5 women. Well, I think it just happens to be 5 women. Shoots up the place. 5 women die. Not a blip, because we're talking about Roger Stone. We're talking about anything. How can that be more important than the gun conversation that we're always having? That for some reason is not. But then you have, just to show what happens, is CNN, the most important thing they can talk about to this day is not actual things that matter in Paris and the rest of Europe, the Yellow Vests, Venezuela, even China, even Russia. No, we have to have a 2-minute handover and talk about, is it okay to wear a red MAGA hat or not?
Right. So you have the legality.
This is Chris Cuomo handing over to Don Lemon.
And then
it's legal, right? You're the attorney.
You can refuse service. You know, no shirt, no shoes, no.
This is, I think it was the San Francisco restaurateur who said, you're not allowed in my restaurant wearing a MAGA hat, which, by the way, I don't think you should be allowed in anyone's restaurant with a hat at all, unless you're a fast food restaurant. So I don't know what kind of restaurant it was. But, it's just, okay, but if you're wearing this hat, you're not allowed.
Service. Now you'd have a counter First Amendment argument. You're chilling my rights. It's a private place. Well, then how is this any different than the baker with the cake? Well, that was about refusing service to a group of people that should be a protected class. Right. And unless you could argue that Trump supporters should be a protected class, I don't think you have much of an argument on that.
And John Lemon obviously has a lot of privilege in this conversation because he's black and gay. So he has privilege to speak his mind and be correct.
Right. So let's say this isn't so much about whether he has the right. It's about whether or not it is right. And here's my problem on this issue. Ordinarily, I'd go down the line, look, be bigger than that. But I don't want to fall into the trap of underselling the significance of the trigger of the expression to people. I think the more appropriate analogy to say is if people were wearing shirts in that said, I hate black people, would he be okay to say, don't come into my place with that? And I think most people would be like, yeah, that's how people like him see the MAGA hat. Yeah. So does that make it okay? I think that's the right question.
Well, and the thing is, should you? But just because you, but just because you have the right, does it mean that you should?
No.
Does it mean that?
Absolutely not.
Should
not
you be
in all
aware?
Cases.
Again, your clothing tells a story about who you are, what you think about, and what you represent.
Right.
And also, life is not in a vacuum. That hat means a lot of things. If you're gonna wear that hat means everything from, I would say, the beginning of the campaign, maybe even before. Maybe that hat means the Central Park 5 to people. Maybe it means birtherism to people. Maybe it means, Mexicans are rapists to people. And so you cannot erase those things from the story of that hat and say, well, I'm just wearing it because I want stronger immigration. Well, a lot of people want stronger immigration. It just can't be about what you want it to be about. There are symbols and things in the society that you have to take as a whole.
My point is, this is not news. This is unhealthy to consume. It has nothing to do with news. Actual news taking place all around us.
It was doing the job, as you could tell when he talked about wearing the T-shirt that says, I hate black people. Mm-hmm. Association, we've been hearing this on and on, associating the hat with all sorts of things to lock down the association that the hat is bad.
Yeah.
And we have seen this in this case, it was to associate the hat with wearing a shirt that says, I hate black people. Mm-hmm. The hat obviously means that.
Yes.
It's just getting annoying. And the CNN is just can't stop doing it.
That's all they seem to do. It's tiring. It's very tiring.
I did have a tweet. I didn't print it out here, but CNN, on their news site, they have this assertion. It could have been a hoax too.
Oh, I saw this. I know exactly what you're going to say.
It could be a hoax, but I don't think.
No,
it is.
I saw the article. It's in the show notes. They have that article on CNN.com.
The argument asserts that when the Europeans came to North America and had killed all the Indians, let's say, just to generalize, they didn't, but otherwise there wouldn't be any left. But they killed all these Indians. It was the genesis of climate change,
and it was because they weren't farming the land anymore, and so there was so much vegetation that grew that we had no. What is their assertion? That doesn't make any sense.
No, well, I'm going to stop right there. It doesn't make any sense.
It had but it had something to do. Okay, I have the article here. Let's take a look at it. European colonizers killed so many Native Americans that it changed the global climate, researchers say. That's what the claim is. So when Europeans arrived in the Americas, they caused so much death and disease that it changed the global climate, a new study finds. A new study.
Yeah.
From Science.
And we talked about how those are done.
Yes. European settlers killed 56 million indigenous people over about 100 years in South, Central, and North America, causing large swaths of farmland to be abandoned and reforested. Researchers at University College London, or UCL, estimate the increase in trees and vegetation across an area the size of France resulted in a massive decrease in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Oh, how can that be bad? Carbon levels changed enough to cool the Earth. Okay. By 1610. Okay, so they're doing a reach-around reverse.
What they're trying to do is, there's a bunch of anomalies
I see
in the historical record about global warming. It doesn't seem to be, it seems to have more to do with the sun than anything else. And so they're trying to shoehorn theories into why this might be. And this is a shoehorn theory.
So to combat climate change, to combat global warming, we can change the climate by colonizing. Hello, China. Let's colonize. It'll be great. I learned from NPR, besides the fact that weather and climate are two separate things, do you know who created the term climate change?
Oh, I should know this, and I feel like I'm in mud.
I'm going to let you sweat it out, and we'll listen to the report.
Well, media organizations.
Oh, by the way, the guy who was talking about climate, not the host, is NPR's media guy. So he's not the climate researcher. He's giving his opinion and his analysis of how the media are handling climate change issues, climate change deniers, and in fact, the history of the term itself.
Well, media organizations, including NPR, have pointed out the connection between the polar vortex in the Midwest and climate change. I noticed on a network news show, which are often criticized for not making that connection to climate change. David, how have news organizations evolved in...
I'm sorry, that was a shitty edit. I took out a whole piece of something unimportant, so I'm sorry about that.
Wait, stop. Since you stopped it.
Yeah.
This was part of the movement. This is with Al Gore when he chewed out Judy for even suggesting that they have a counterpoint on climate change. And this is part of that there was a big stink. We had it on the show. We discussed it about how anytime any weather anomaly is reported, climate change should be brought into. Yes. I think this came from Lear, by the way. The Lear Foundation, those guys.
Most likely, yes.
They have to mention climate change. Now, he's condemning a network news report that apparently just talked about the weather without
making the connection.
Mentioning climate change. This is a faux pas, I guess.
Well, and actually I have two clips, so we'll continue this. Recall that first it was, climate's or weather's not climate, but then it churned into extreme weather events. Now, that is because of climate. And the biggest problem they had was with the local weather forecasters. And, of course, we had the founder of the Weather Channel who passed away recently, who to his death remained saying this is the biggest hoax ever. So we pick it up again with this David guy.
For not making that connection to climate change. David, how have news organizations evolved in connecting these extreme weather stories to the overall trend of climate change?
CBS This Morning, they're no fools in acknowledging that role. You've seen their sort of increasing efforts by scientists and some journalists with specialty in the area to incorporate that as the science seems to be clearer about not just the fact that that man-made emissions and carbon and the warming of the environment are present and having an effect, but that you can start to make connection to individual events. And so you're starting to see that. That is a change. You used to see particularly meteorologists on TV, especially local, but also national TV, really resist talking about climate. They're going to say, we're talking about weather. Climate is global. Climate is a whole different layer there. It's too unpredictable. Heck, we have trouble predicting more than 10 days out. And what you've seen is sort of a joining of meteorology and climate science to say, yeah, these things are interconnected in a real way. And therefore, you can start to see this in all kinds of coverage from local TV to, national newspapers.
And then there is Brian Kilmeade here on Fox and Friends on Fox News. Listen.
It was true that the climate change became climate change when global warming wasn't adding up to global warming. It was going very cold, and then people say with the temperature went up a couple of degrees, they go, we'll change it. We're going to start using climate change. So anytime there's a tornado, a typhoon, a flood, what did I tell you? And then hence starts the debate.
David, what about that? Have we got past that where we can recognize that global warming is the overall trend, even if it means severe winter storms?
What climate change really means is there's global warming and the atmosphere is warming and all kinds of other things are warming. And at the same time, it's calling all kinds of weather disruption and spikes and variables in all directions. The real thing is in some ways that climate change became very much part of the political vernacular in the 1990s, in part as a result of Newt Gingrich, the Congress that came to power in 1995 in opposition to the Clinton White House, wanted to call it something that seemed less threatening than global warming, and they focus group tested the phrase climate change, and it seemed less threatening to people at a time they were trying to hold down certain kinds of regulations.
I didn't know this. You're telling me the Republicans under Speaker Newt Gingrich came up with this? They focus tested it, said, and
they focus grouped it,
and this is what they and now we're left with this thanks to them. Wow. I don't know if this is true, but it sounds very believable.
Gingrich is still alive. You can verify it.
Yeah. But it's like, wow, way to go. Good work, Newt. So what is the media's responsibility in all of this? We'll just finish out the segment since we've got it.
So what are the media to do when President Trump tweets out, global warming, come back fast, we need you? Is it the media's responsibility to then do a whole fact-checking session about that?
Or let me ask you, Jean-Claude, is it the media's responsibility?
To what?
To fact-check and do a whole... What he just said.
Fact-check a sarcastic remark? How do you even fact-check something like that?
Or do they just let it go?
He either said it or he didn't. There's your fact-check. Did he say it? Yes. Okay. Fact-check is true.
Fact check false.
The media's responsibility to then do a whole fact-checking session about that, or do they just let it go?
I don't think the media has to, in every element, go after the individual tweet. I do think it's not fair simply
He's got the tweet
to say, the president without any evidence says, there's no such thing as global warming. I think that the media and reporters and journalists need to perform a civic and educational function to the public to say this is what the science shows and incorporate that into its main coverage.
Computer modeling is crap?
Stay with it.
Simply just hive that off into fact-checking columns, as useful as those can be for enduring correctives online. I think that the media has to be front and center and confident about reporting what it knows, make sure to contextualize it, making sure not to overstate what the science says, but to say, it appears increasingly certain that such severe weather spikes of winter chill or of summer heat appear to be increasingly likely, as are more tornadoes and hurricanes and the like as a result of climate change.
which of course we haven't really had for 15 years. But
and I think that's journalistically valid and important thing to do for the public, so they can make the choices that affect their own lives.
Oh, okay. So now we get into my favorite topic: is how many people don't believe it in the scientific community, and how many of those voices do you allow to speak in your public airwaves?
We produced this show in association with the BBC World Service, and the BBC told staff last year not to include outright deniers of climate change in BBC coverage in the same way you would not have someone denying that Manchester United won 2-0 last Saturday.
Yep.
How common is that in newsrooms?
Don't you love that analogy? That's fantastic.
Right now, to send out a message from the top saying,
"Here's a false analogy."
Yeah.
The guy says it's a false analogy, doesn't he?
Let's see. Why isn't that clicking?
Change in BBC coverage in the same way you would not have someone denying that Manchester United won 2-0 last Saturday.
Yep.
How common is that in newsrooms right now to send out a message from the top saying, here's how we're going to do it?
Well, in some ways, the Beeb, while one of the world's great news organizations, is a little late to the party. It's been a few years since even cable channels in this country, by and large, have been willing to put on climate change denialists, shall we say, people who reject the science just on the basis of what's convenient for them ideologically.
Oh, how about actual scientists who reject it? But that's okay.
And the BBC, which has a statutory mandate of even-handedness, was overcompensating. That is, if 1.5% of scientists or so believe that you
wait, now it's 1.5. What happened to 97%?
That up.
We went to.
What did he say?
He went. Well,
it's a mistake they keep making.
Well, it's.
Oh, I know why they're doing it. Play it again.
For them ideologically, and the BBC, which has a statutory mandate of even-handedness, was overcompensating. That is, if 1.5% of scientists or so believe that you can't really attribute climate change to man-made emissions or the like, it's not fair to balance that out one-on-one with somebody who believes that is the case, even if that represents 98% of scientists. And
first of all, he's missing 0.5% here or there. But it used to be 97, now it's 98.5, or maybe it's 98.
Saw that in things in Britain
it was originally 97% of climate scientists who already wrote reports on it, which is what's been overlooked, because then it became 90% of all scientists.
No, 90% of climate scientists, then 90% of all scientists, and then just...
But anyway, that was...
then it was just like this.
You can't really attribute climate change to man-made emissions or the like. It's not fair to balance that out one-on-one with somebody who believes that is the case, even if that represents 98% of scientists. And you saw that in things in Britain over the question of the debate about the economic effects of Brexit. You've seen it in this country on certain things. We've had to work out the fact that this oppositional debate in which we stage a lot of our journalism through argumentation doesn't work when the science is so clearly on one side.
They're clearly not on one side.
No. I was going to play something.
This is the rationale. They need to get this number up to 100% or close to it, so they can keep people off the air from making the opposite argument. Unfortunately, they can't keep them offline. There's a lot of people that have websites, and they haven't been able to shut them down, that have very good arguments as to why this is a bunch of bullcrap. And they're scientists, many high-end scientists, and some very famous physicists. And some Nobel Prize winning people.
We all know the directive from our own scientist, Dr. Kiki.
Shut up already. It's science.
Yes, just be quiet. And with that, I'm not going to be quiet. I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to the man who put the C in climate change, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also, in the morning to all ships at sea, boots on the ground. Feet in the air, subs in the water, and the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to our trolls in our troll room. That's noagendastream.com is where they congregate every Thursday and Sunday morning and listen to the show, chat amongst themselves, throw out sarcastic one-liners, and often help very much with the production of this show. It is appreciated.
And such.
No Agenda Show, noagendastream.com. Also, in the morning to Uncle Cave Bear. He brought us the artwork for episode 1108. There was a lot of good art once again. We selected, I remember what we did. We selected the dingbat found in cave, Bernie Sanders. And there were a number of reasons for this, but one of them that we wanted to mention is, we have two or three stock templates you can add to any image on the noagendaartgenerator.com. And we're seeing more people come up with their own new templates, and they're kind of appealing to us.
Yeah, and there's one that we're taking a dislike to of the templates.
Yeah, is that the Illuminati kind of all-seeing eye one? Yeah, it's too small, and
and it doesn't contrast well, and we recommend not using it. Yeah. But we do recommend just designing a complete piece without the template and posting that.
Also good, yes.
Which is what this guy did.
Yep, yeah, liked it very much.
All right, so we have a few people to thank for show 1109. We're 2 shows away from 1111.
Well, 1 show away. Well, after this one more, then 1111.
Which will be the next Sunday.
Yeah.
And there'd be no Super Bowl on that Sunday, so you don't have to use your betting money.
No, you can use all of your winnings from betting on the GOAT.
Yeah, the GOAT. James Smith is the top donor at $333.33, and I thought I saw a note from him.
Yeah, you said you had an additional thing.
No, I do, but that's not James Smith.
Okay,
that's next.
All right.
This is. Let me see if I got a note from James Smith in the mail, because there should be, because I thought I saw one. James Smith. I got the Smith. Let's go to the bottom.
Yes.
M. Smith.
No, there's a lot of M. Smith these days.
Yeah, that's M. Smith.
That's M. Smith is pissed off at me.
Yeah, for good reason.
No, not for good reason.
That's what she says.
Yeah, so she should. Oh, okay, fine. It always goes like this. John says, "Listen to the show."
That's what I said.
Do you have it yet?
Well, I got a John Smith's from January 2nd. Where he says, Viva Gillette's yawns in the newsletter. He says, it doesn't have nothing. There's no. I got nothing from James. So I don't know what to say. James, if you got something to tell us, send it to us in an email or something.
Yeah.
Because next we have, actually this got misplaced. This is T. Oldelsting with $333. James Smith was $333.33, so he's the topper. And 333 from Odelsting. He says, ITM gents, he's got this. It just says T. It doesn't have there's nothing. ITM gents, I'm requesting a big dose of Jobs Karma. Please use the old school Pelosi version, not the weak sauce Trump version.
Is that it?
No.
Oh.
I have been looking unsuccessfully for a new dude named Ben gig for the last 6 months with no prospects.
Wow.
It doesn't say where he's from, so that may have something to do with it. A de-douching must also be in order.
You've been de-douched.
Says my last donation was during JCD's visit to Sparks Restaurant in New York. So he must be in New York. He's got to be 1 million jobs there. Thanks for your bi-weekly measure of sanity. So give him a Jobs Karma.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Yeah, oh, wait a minute. Oh, Smyrna. I saw this. Maybe. Here it is. Okay, back to James Smith.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, he sent a check in when it's at the top, and I used that because I remember reading it. He actually runs a thing called Neighbors Feed and Seed in Smyrna, Georgia. Looks like a good place. You got a couple of cards he sent me because I need some feed or seed.
Just in case.
First and foremost, I need a de-douching.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
I'm going to tell you what he's going to request at the end before I read the note.
Okay.
A small business karma and L. Sharpton butchering the English language, Adam's choice would be awesome.
Okay.
First and foremost, I need a de-douching. I've been listening since summer of 18, and this is my first donation. I own a small business in Smyrna, Georgia. My business is Neighbors Feed and Seed, an old-school feed store with an emphasis in organic and sustainability. Skills you will need when you finally go OTG. I am even working on my Taliban beard for authenticity. Your analysis of the M5M's sheer volume of bullshit is worth every penny. I'm committing now, and we can't even get to half of it. I'm committing now to my inevitable knighthood. This being my first offering in the value for value model. I ask that other listeners in the Metro Atlantic area come by the shop and say hello. Neighbor, and the name of the place again is Neighbors.
Okay.
Feed and Seed.
All
So
right.
Neighbors. Okay.
All right.
Neighbors is on the face bag and something as well. Keep up the good fight. I punch as many people in the mouth as I can. A small business karma and an L Sharpton butchering the English language would be awesome. Until my next donation, take care, James Smith.
All right. Thank you for your courage.
Tonight is the measure of whether the country begins in the state of Wisconsin a national drive to push back. Thanks
Good evening,
to
Rev.
you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder ABDs about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentacon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwindling, they do not want him dwindling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist, intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney.
Okay, I've had enough.
You've got karma.
Did he say Pentacon?
Yes, he did. Pentacon. It's a fan favorite.
That guy's great.
Yeah.
Matthew Hamilton. By the way, they pay him tons of money to be on MSNBC. I think he's still there on the weekends now.
And
But
that's
he used to have a daily show.
That's before the extortion racket that he runs. Just
Matthew
saying.
Hamilton, 321.33. Drunk donation from the host of the No Agenda Social, whose alcohol-induced tinnitus is really beginning to strike a nerve. Could be from your Wi-Fi. I have a long flight tomorrow, and I'm counting on No Agenda to get me through the cross-country trip. Thanks to my wonderful wife putting up with my nonsense about being married before December 31st of 2018. I'm now married, filing jointly. So I figured I'd give the No Agenda show a cut of the action. I'm also using – this is nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I also am using this donation as a reminder to myself to send John a picture of our cat to use in the newsletter. Cat pictures in the newsletter make donations go up. So I'm doing my part. There may be some evidence of that. I also need to send John a video of Bart grinding the tracks outside my apartment at 3 a.m. Okay, I have to say something after this. I read this.
This, by the way, just so you have some context, this is Aaroner. He was kind enough. Well, it's over a year now to take over the actual administrative duties for NoAgendaSocial.com, which is a lot of crap because it's tons of bandwidth and images, and so. I didn't know he was a drinker, so this is interesting to
Yeah, well, you'd be too running No Agenda Social.
Yes, right, exactly. And meth.
And send John a video of Bart. Okay, let me just stop in the middle of this note. So the BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, I remember when it first was built. That's how old I am. And I remember when they pushed it through and they got the people to vote for it after trying a few times. And they put this guy, George Silliman, I think was his name. He was a gas station. He owned a gas station in the middle of nowhere somewhere, I think at Warm Springs or Dakota or someplace. And he kept running for office and running for office. He finally got the job, and he got the job as head of BART. But in the promises was, we're going to use these special hard rubber tires that won't make any noise. There was promises of the system being silent. I want to just remind everybody, I was there. I remember this debate. Oh, it's going to make too much noise, these noisy trains going overhead. No, they're not going to make any noise because we have these special hard rubber tires that won't make noise. They won't squeak. They won't make noise. They make so much noise. It's over 100 decibels if you're under one of these tracks. Not all the trains make all the noise, but many of them do. And so this is what he's bitching about. And I'm just going to say this is the type of promise you get from your government. The Golden Gate Bridge will always be free to drive over. The Bay Area Bridge, free after the first 5 years of 10-cent tolls. Free after that. So this is bull crap. These guys just lie to get these things done, and it continues to this day. And nobody remembers. I do. I remember the silent trains. Anyway, I also need to send John a video of Bart grinding the tracks outside my apartment at 3 a.m. The Bart shouldn't be going by at 3 a.m. They're supposed to stop running at 1.
No, they're grinding the tracks.
Maybe.
So that means they're smoothing something out. They're not.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously the best time for track maintenance.
Oh, there you go. Track maintenance. Yeah.
I bet you that's noisier than anything. Speaking of No Agenda Social, fuck Gargon for making Mastodon with Ruby and not crediting me with reporting a severe denial of service vulnerability that he silently fixed after I reported it. That's getting it out of your system.
Oh, wait. Oh, big news here. No Agenda Social is moving to Pleroma as soon as there's a migration tool. Whoa. That's big news. There was no meeting.
Adam, exhale your vape faster so you're not commenting on clips while you have a frog in your throat.
Says the guy doing a drunk donation.
Also, LA is the worst, and I hate it.
I love our dude's name, Ben. Thank you very much.
So let's talk about this. What is? I don't know anything about this Pleroma.
If you look at the history of Mastodon, it really started with GNU Social, and the concept of the Fediverse, and so all these different things came in, and just like podcasting, there's who started, who was first, who's important, who's the big kahuna, and Gargon manages the GitHub repository for Mastodon, and Pleroma is a break off, a fork. Of people who are pissed off at this guy. It's your typical open source shit. It's the same everywhere. It's political. It's stuff like this. The guy says, "Hey, you got a problem with your Ruby on Rails implementation," and it's fixed without going through the official process and I guess crediting Aaroner with having found it. This is the dude named Ben stuff. I don't understand that much. It's they have their own political sphere.
Well, apparently you're supposed to be credited if you did something good.
And believe me, just this announcement moving to Pleroma will have a never-ending thread on No Agenda Social, no doubt. Is it good? Probably. Is it bad? Should we do it? I think as long as it connects to the Fediverse, I'm good with it. And thank you very much for all of your courage, Aaroner.
The Fediverse.
You've got karma.
Yes. Hey, it is the future.
I'm still trying to get out of the blogoverse.
That's blogosphere.
Blogosphere.
That's a quote. John C. Dvorak. I'm still trying to get out of the blogosphere. The Fediverse, the pub sub activity. Activity pub is a good thing, and I'm all for it. As long as it federates, do what you want. That's the future. I said it here. Mark it down. Next.
Rob Van Dyke, otherwise known as $300.11. He's in Holland. Hi, John and Adam. I should be past knighthood now. Please knight me, Sir Bob of the Clueless Country.
The Clueless, that being the Netherlands.
That's what he says.
I like it. Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you for your support. Thank you for Donkeyville.
Daniel Sens, parts unknown, in $250. He's a first associate executive producer. And he says something I can't read because it's all codes.
No. He's saying, para mañana. Para mañana. Bad hombres.
Well, I don't see that. Thank you for your courage. Your courage keeps me sane by my long commutes to work. This is what we do. That's what we're for. I request goat karma as my tenure vote is coming up this week at my university. Oh, he's a professor. Jingles requested whooping with the Constitution, WTC 7, Obama, you may die.
Okay.
And goat karma, of course.
Let me see. I haven't played a whooping with the Constitution in a long time. Okay, and he wants WTC 7. And what was the final one?
You may die.
You might die is what it would be. Okay, let's see if we can get this going.
Now get out there and whoop Obama's behind. Whooping, 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 whooping with the Constitution. Whooping, 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 whooping with the Constitution. Whooping, 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 whooping with the Constitution. Whooping, whooping, whooping all of their behinds. Constitution. Whooping.
WTC 7 won't go away.
You might die.
You've got karma.
God power.
That's Abel Kirby. He sent it to me on email.
God power.
Nice. Take that, mainstreamers. See if you got a producer who will do that for you.
On the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's something we have in spades. Alex, $223.19 in New Windsor, New York. Do we get some new human resource karma? Donation amount is the due date.
$223.19.
Great work.
Now, the question is Alex the injector or the carrier? Because it could be either way.
It's a monosex name.
It's a mystery. But yes, we are happy to give that to you and let us know when said human resource enters the universe.
You've got karma.
Knight James Briscoe, Bayshore, New York, $210. Knight Jim Briscoe here. Cancel my Sling TV subscription. Here's the savings.
Thanks.
Ought to be better content anyway.
Wow.
Still loving the show. Not time for it to go just yet.
Spotify is lurking, people.
Sir Woody of the Falls, $200.72. Dear Honey Cocker and Bindles. Oh, Honey Yoker. Real words, by the way. Sir Woody of the Falls says it's Groundhog Day and this grizzled geezer's 72nd birthday. Damn, I'm old. You keep putting it in my ear and I'll keep donating. Thanks a bunch, Sir Woody of the Falls. I think I get the voice right.
That's pretty good. I like it.
And it concludes our group of associate executive producers for show 1109.
Saved from the grasp of Spotify once again. Thanks to our executive producers and associate executive producers. We like the value for value model. It's been around since before Spotify. It seems to work out just fine without hundreds of people on payroll. No, instead of that, we have producers who provide value in many ways, and we'd love to thank the ones who do it financially, just like Hollywood does, with credits at the top of the show, our executive and associate executive producers. Thank you very much. We got a couple nightings coming up. I'm very excited for that. And another show on Thursday, which will be the last show before 11/11. Please support us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
And you know who to bet on. Get them in now. Goat power for the go. Propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
And Abel Kirby says, I should have mentioned I was listening to the show in the shower, jumped out to record this, then jumped back in to rinse off. That's
I can just
dedication. That's dedication.
Hey, honey, what are you doing? I thought you were in the shower. No, I'll be right back. No, don't worry about it. Yeah, bro.
I just gotta do a little goat power thing.
Goat power.
Oh my goodness, we have some great jingles today and end of show mixes. Sir Chris Wilson is back from one of his digital detox hiatuses.
She's going the distance. She's going to lead. She's all alone in a time of greed. Because she's scheming and memeing, collecting each dime. She's fighting and biting, lying all the time. She's going the distance.
Yeah, that's right. He's got a whole Hillary mix.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Now,
It's
talking
fantastic.
about going the distance, so I got just a beginning of Tulsi Gabbard's announcement that she's going to be running for office, which I want to play because it's just it's under the title Low Energy.
Now, wait, is this the... Because we played a couple of different things. Which one is this?
I don't know. It's one of the ones.
Is this the one where
it's only the beginning of it because it was like it was almost gonna. By the way, it was just about to knock me out, asleep, and I had to I struggle to hit the button to stop it recording. Otherwise, I would have conked out, and it could have gone hours.
Change we need to see must begin in the White House, because the White House should be a beacon of aloha. Respect, love, and compassion for every American. Our nation was founded on the values and principles of putting service before self. Rejecting the rule of kings who prospered from the sacrifices of the people, and forming a new nation founded on the premise that leaders should be motivated not to serve their own interests, but to serve the people.
Yeah, I think it was 1 or 2 shows ago when she did this apology, because she got railroaded immediately for having a conservative stance as a much younger human resource, which her father had about marriage being between a man and a woman, which Obama had and Hillary had, and everyone had it at the time, and so they changed. But she's not allowed to change, but they're pulling a different tactic on her. NBC is doing this. This is how they definitely will get rid of her. Headline: Russia's propaganda machine discovers 2020 Democratic candidate Tulsi Gabbard. Experts who track websites and social media linked to Russia have seen stirrings of a possible campaign of support for Hawaii Democrat Tulsi Gabbard. So they're already saying, oh, yeah, no, she's got Russia on her side.
I should mention this because you had this. I liked her, too, until I found out she was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And I figured, well, what's the point of that? How'd she get on that?
I think her cuteness factor makes up for a lot of that.
She's very cute.
Yeah, I think that makes up for it.
But you said she's a danger. She's going to, she's something to keep an eye on.
At the time, John, we're talking 4 years ago.
And you went on, more recently, you said this.
No.
Yeah, more recently before she came, like I'm saying, like a year ago.
No. Okay.
You love her.
Fine. I still like her, but she has zero chance.
You're not letting me get to my real point, which is that one of the major libjos who I keep in touch with says, I think Tulsi Gabbard's the way to go.
Excellent. So I want you
to. So that's telling me. Here's what it tells me. It tells me, you, a known crackpot, and a libjo, both are looking at Tulsi Gabbard as a potential president. This not get no. This is no good. So they're going after her. She's going to get knocked out quick.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think they have to do that because she's so dull.
Well, if you were a part of the show a couple weeks ago when I played the apology and said she has absolutely no chance and she's toast, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But the fact that no, let me make my point. The fact that your LibJo friend said that, I would like you to check in with the LibJo after this knowledge, because this is NBC, so your LibJo friend has seen it. And say, hey, what do you think now? Because I would like to hear if the person, well, clearly she's got, because the reason why they're doing this is because of her 2017 meeting with Assad in Syria. So they're saying that because she met with Syrian dictator Assad, now Russia is helping her. So I want to see if your LibJo picks up on that line of bullcrap.
He stays mostly on the progressive side of things, and I doubt if he watches NBC. But we'll see. But the reason I brought it back up wasn't because you already dismissed her 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's because of the LibJo connection.
No, I
had to bring that in, which rationalizes why they think she's a threat. Because we have somebody extreme opposites of you and the LibJo. Most of the times you've had LibJo friends.
I got you. So
like
she's
a doctor.
I got you. Right. She's a threat because both crackpots on both sides of the scale can get along with her.
Yeah.
Well, she has to go.
She has to go.
She's no good.
Can't take a chance.
She has to
and
go.
You might as well take her out sooner than later.
So while we're talking about elections and meddling and Russian interference, our friends up north, we're in Gitmo Nation proper here, in Scandinavia, have announced something very important. They have a plan. They have a protocol.
We expect social media platforms to take concrete actions to help safeguard this fall's election by promoting transparency, authenticity, and integrity on their platforms. I have initiated conversations with the social media platforms to identify these actions. As a starting point, we are looking for a commitment from social media companies to implement changes here in Canada that they have already applied in other countries. I am also announcing the Critical Election Incident Public Protocol. The protocol establishes a simple, clear, and impartial process to inform Canadians of a threat to the integrity of the 2019 federal election. It is designed to avoid the kind of gridlock that could prevent an effective public announcement. The core responsibility for the protocol resides in a group of senior civil servants.
Yes. So they've taken these 5 old guys, which I think are mentioned in this next clip, and they all gave them a badge. And this badge says, at any point when you feel that you need to call something out as fake news, although it's not implied that way in how they're explaining it, you have the authority to go before the Scandinavian peoples and say, this is fake news. This particular clip they talk about, I think the host is talking to this woman who you just heard about the SWAT team of the Ministry of Truth.
What guidance are you giving this group to say, here's the moment you have to tell Canadians? Is there a tipping point?
So, I mean, it's going to be context dependent and context specific.
Which I love. I don't know what that means, but it sounds to me like we kind of make up the rules as to when we can do this or when it's important, what we think it is. It's context.
What we have said is the threshold needs to be high. It needs to come into question whether the elections will be free and fair for them to be able to inform the Canadian public. It's a group of 5, right? You've got the Deputy Ministers of Global Affairs, Public Safety, and Global Affairs, Public Safety, and
I love where she can't remember
the National Security Advisor, the Clerk of the Privy Council, to make sure that they are having a conversation. We don't want a situation where one official is trying to determine whether or not they should do it, and the Deputy Minister of Justice, to really, protect Canada, right, and Canadians. And so they will be looking at things that have gone on around the world that have called into question other electoral events, and thinking about how that applies in the Canadian context.
Did you understand what she said?
No, it's a bull crap. She's just yakking away. And here's what's going to happen. If I was the Russians or I was trying to mess with them, or not even the Russians, some guy in the basement, I would inundate them with bull crap. Take those Macedonian kids who really hated Hillary that put all those websites up. Just have them crank stuff out. So they'd be singing, raising the flag so much that nobody would take them seriously.
The obvious question is, will this team of 5 be able to invalidate the elections, or what's going to happen?
Is there a point where this group or some group could say there's been so much interference, this election's invalid?
Well, I think what's important to note is that whatever Canadians decide, right? And let's take a step back, because one of the things that we can have confidence in is that we have paper ballots here in Canada. So if the ballot box isn't stuffed, if the results aren't tampered with, the election results are valid, right? So it's Canadians making the decisions when they go into that ballot box. What this group will be determining is if there's been a disinformation campaign or something that has so altered the discourse that Canadians need to know where this information is coming from. That's what they would be alerting Canadians to. But ultimately, Canadians are going in, marking their ballots, casting their ballots, and making those decisions. Our job is trying to provide them with the tools and the resources necessary to make informed choices.
So what of course I did research this, and it sounds like a lot of gobbledygook, but the idea, from what I understand, is this panel will be able to say that news story is fake news. So they become the news guard. Here we have commercial companies like Publicis, the actual advertising agency running the news guard browser extension to tell you if something's fake or not. They're just doing it to make sure that no ads from their clients run on anything that's controversial. That's why they're behind it. In this case, they're taking one step further, and they're allowing this panel of 5 to say, that's fake news. And that's taking it a little further than we've done.
Yeah, this is going to be a fiasco worth following.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Fiasco written all over it.
It does. Let's see how good, we hold Canada in high regard here. They've got their prince.
Pretty much in the same regard we hold Venezuela.
Oh, well, hold on. In that case,
when Maduro comes out to play, we'll send in the CIA. Venezuela is our cash cow. You will lose, so give up now.
Nice.
Chris Wilson.
So Democracy Now!, of course, everybody, all the big major news media, excuse me, is all in with, yes, this is the best for it. Look at these protesters. They go as far as the eye can see. There's 500,000 of them. They all hate Maduro. Everybody's back. So, and that's the one side. But Democracy Now!, being the socialist operation that it is not buying it. And they're sticking with this guy who is a loser. But they're sticking with this guy and his nonsense because, well, the Cubans like him, and we like the Cubans as socialists. So let's listen to how they're handling this thing, because it's a foregone conclusion, I think, unless something weird happens, that Maduro is going to end up getting kicked out of there. But this Venezuela report on DN.
The U.S.-backed effort to oust Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is just the first step in the Trump administration's plan to reshape Latin America.
It's the U.S. backed after it began. I think the people that argued that this was actually and NBC had a lot of good clips on this, that this was something that was initiated in Venezuela. Now, it could have been started by us, but U.S. backed makes it sound like we're sending troops in. It's just a very poor way of putting it. I don't like.
Hold on. I just have to say, yes, it's a U.S. backed plan. Of course, it is. It appears to me that the Venezuelan people like our plan, but to say that this was not a complete U.S. plan, that this guy is not, the Guaido is not our guy from George Washington University.
Looks like Obama. He's obviously our guy.
Yeah, stop. Listen to this.
A military helicopter passed overhead, but the security forces kept their distance. Speakers told the crowd this was a moment of history, a moment of hope for Venezuela. Beaming on stage, the man many now look to as a savior, Juan Guaido, already being called Venezuela's Obama. He's a powerful symbol, but an untested leader.
I heard that first right here on this show. I heard it from you.
Yeah.
They're Obama. Okay.
Well, here's their Obama. Anyway, okay, we'll just let it slide one way or the other. But it is U.S. back now, but these guys aren't. What you just heard there is not the same as what Democracy Now! Is feeding us.
No, I understand. And it's not feeding us. It's only feeding you, John.
It's feeding the socialists and the 10 listeners. I make it 11.
Has AOC ever been on that show?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Well, I want to know who was really watching this show.
Well, I am, because I think the reason I watch Democracy Now! Because people would say, I never heard of this show.
Mm-hmm.
It's been on for like 50 years. It is always left-leaning. It's been on for a long time. When we first started doing these clips on our show, I was bitching about Amy, a decade ago, about how she never combs her hair and she doesn't use any makeup.
The important things of television production, as you should.
Yeah, well, it was just a commentary on that. It wasn't really. In fact, the fact is, they cover a lot of stuff on that show that nobody will touch. I have a couple of examples today. So I use Democracy Now! As a nice buffer, and it's completely the opposite kind of coverage. So this is what we're getting.
Right.
But let's listen to it.
Well, just as a quick aside, I do like that you identified him as Obama, that Obama is, of course, if you look at the whole comparison, Guaido is a U.S. asset, probably CIA. What does that tell you about
Georgetown?
Obama? What does that tell you about Obama?
The U.S.-backed effort to oust Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is just the first step in the Trump administration's plan to reshape Latin America, with Cuba next on its radar.
Whoa!
According to the report, the U.S. is planning to announce new measures against Cuba in the coming weeks, including new sanctions and restoring Cuba's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. The move could seriously hamper foreign investment in Cuba. Cuba. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. then plans to target Nicaragua. In November, National Security Advisor John Bolton dubbed the three nations the Troika of tyranny.
Huh.
Yeah. Nobody else reported on that.
The Troika of tyranny? Yeah, we actually had that. We talked about it on the last show.
They reported on the fact that he's going after Cuba next.
Well, that would be, our information refining producers send us information about the G2 being in control of Venezuela. G2 is Cuba's intelligence agency.
Right.
So that would make sense in this context.
Exactly. Well, this is the part 2 of this report.
In the latest news from Venezuela, opposition leader and self-declared President Juan Guaido said he's reached out to both Russia and China. The two countries are Venezuela's top foreign creditors and have refused to recognize Guaido's claim to be president. This comes as Reuters is reporting the Maduro government plans to sell gold from central bank vaults to the United Arab Emirates for cash as new sanctions from the U.S. threaten to further cripple Venezuela's economy. There are also reports the Venezuela-owned oil company Citgo is considering filing for bankruptcy. On Thursday, hundreds of workers from the state-owned oil company PDVSA marched in Caracas in support of President Maduro. This is Vice President Delcy Rodriguez addressing the march.
All masks have been removed from Donald Trump, President of the United States, from his Vice President, the dislocated Mike Pence, from the National Security Advisor John Bolton. All without exception have said they are coming for the oil of Venezuela. And what is our response? Yankee hands off our oil industry. They will not return to govern Venezuela or come to take our oil.
Well, he may have a problem on his hands. Because it looks like the visa idea that I told you about, that we had offered visas, American visas to the Venezuelan army.
Yeah.
Looks like it worked.
Another massive anti-government rally in Venezuela's capital, Caracas, calling on President Nicolas Maduro to resign. They want opposition leader Juan Guaido, who has the backing of the United States, to take over. And now a general from the pro-Maduro military has switched sides. I don't recognize the dictatorial authority of Nicolas Maduro, and I recognize lawmaker Juan Guaido as interim president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. 90% of the Bolivarian armed forces are not with the dictator, but with the Venezuelan people. The dictator has every day 2 planes ready. He should go. Later on Saturday, Maduro promised holding parliamentary elections earlier than planned. 3 million Venezuelans have already voted with their feet and fled the country.
Now, I wanted to go back to that clip, the second clip from the Democracy Now!
Yes,
where the vice president of Venezuela under Maduro was going on, and she mentioned Trump and the dislocated Pence.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
The dislocated Pence?
Yeah.
Is that in the beginning of the clip? Where is that?
It's in the middle of the clip. When
in the latest news from Venezuela, bankruptcy.
Put it up further.
On Thursday, hundreds of workers from the state-owned oil company PDVSA marched in Caracas in support of President Maduro. This is Vice President Delcy Rodriguez addressing the march.
Was it before this or is it after this?
Right there. Let's play it.
All masks have been removed from Donald Trump, President of the United States, from his Vice President, the dislocated Mike Pence, from the National Security Advisor John Bolton.
The dislocated?
Yeah.
I think we're missing some. Maybe the translation's a little weird.
I think the translation meant unhinged.
Unglued. Well, I'm sure we have someone in the production audience who can hear what was being spoken.
What is this? Dislocated. What does that even mean? It's like he's moved out of the executive house that the vice president stays in, or he's living in Canada.
Politically dislocated. Is there a different definition of dislocated other than your shoulder? Or
none that I know of.
Because that's kind of where it goes for me. Well, we can always
consult the book of knowledge.
So dislocate, disturb the normal arrangement, disturb the organization, disrupt, disorganize, disarrange, derange. It must be deranged.
Yeah.
Instead of dislocated meant deranged. The deranged Mike Pence. He hates gays, did you know?
Yeah, he does. He wants to do conversion therapy.
On their oil.
And that, of course, was a Probably some sarcasm there. That somebody sent us a note bitching. So you guys do more sarcasm than anybody.
Well, with that voice, yeah, I think he's right.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And I think that is an example. What I just did there.
Oh, very good.
So it's probably he's probably right.
Probably right. Yeah, we're just sarcastic douches.
All right, let's go for what's another country? Well, Cameroon update. We haven't done that for a while.
Cameroon? What is...
All hell's breaking loose.
Oh, jeez.
In Cameroon, opposition leader Maurice Kamto was arrested as the government cracks down on unrest after last year's disputed presidential election. Kamto's lawyer said the arrest was due to opposition protests over the weekend. Security forces reportedly responded to the protests by firing live bullets. Meanwhile, the Committee to Protect Journalists is calling for the release of 2 journalists who were also arrested while covering an opposition gathering in Cameroon.
Well, there's now 900 dead in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and that's not from Ebola. That's just people who are pissed off about the elections. That's still there. Now we don't have much news.
These elections cause a lot of problems. I'm wondering if maybe the whole idea of the democratization of the world is really just to create these murders. So the elections are rigged.
Well, Spain, be careful. Madrid has seen big protests.
Spanish pensioners were on the streets of Madrid on Saturday to demand better public pensions. The protesters say...
And by the way, they're all wearing yellow vests. Or not all, but a lot of yellow vests showing up here.
Increases have been too small and should instead rise at the rate of inflation. They were joined on the march by taxi drivers, who've also been on strike for nearly 2 weeks. Our parents and our elders are supporting us economically so we can continue this fight to end job instability, the flight of money from our country, and the corrupt politics we've seen over the last 25 years. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has offered a 6% increase, but pensioners are holding out for more. They've allied themselves to Madrid's taxi drivers, who are on strike in a separate protest over regulation for ride-hailing apps like Uber.
And then...
Did you hear what they were doing, these taxi guys?
No.
The taxi guys, they take like 1,000 taxi guys, and they'd get on the main freeways.
Yeah.
And just
stop,
abandon 1,000 cars there, nice. lock the doors, and close them, take the keys, and walk.
I got to tell you, I kind of understand it. It's got to be the same anger I'm feeling with these damn Uber scooters. It's just the whole thing is just annoying. Everything about it is annoying. I'm starting to become a real grouch about it.
Well, I mean, there were regulations. I mean, this is one of those examples.
The thing is, it's an attack. It's because they come in and they just do it. That's the problem. It's
like immigration.
Funny you say that, because I have a comparison there in a minute. But that's really what is the most irksome, is they just drop the service in, drop it on top of a city and say, well, here you go. And then, it's always beg for forgiveness. And then they leave after everybody's hooked, like a drug dealer. It's a very typical Silicon Valley model. And, so now the same thing. Now Austin is talking about 17,000 scooters and bikes in downtown Austin. And last night, Tina and I, for the first time, I did this with her. We were walking up the street, and there's a scooter, an e-scooter, parked just right across the path of the sidewalk, obstructing walking. And so I walk up to it, and I take it to the curb, and I hurl it into the street, and just kept on walking with my girl. And it felt oddly satisfying.
Well, good for you.
No, if I'm doing this, then other people are going to get really aggressive.
You're pretty calm.
I'm a pretty calm guy in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in the Netherlands, just like in Belgium, the kids are now truants. There was a massive truancy because, of course, they're saying, hey, it's only it's an hour and a half away. Hey, the Belgian kids, they got the 3 weeks off of school. We're going to, protest climate. So they all go out. They're all bundled up, protesting global warming.
Freezing to death, protesting global warming.
And, and there's all these reports on the news, all in Dutch, so it doesn't make any sense to play clips. But so what do you think? They asked the principal of a huge school system. It's actually okay for them to cut class if they're going to protest, what's happening with the climate. And the interviewer said, well, what if they were to protest migrants? No, they would not be allowed to go and skip school for that. It just shows you what the thinking is in this very socialist country. And we're in week 12, Act 12 of the Yellow Vests in France. You'd think that's all over, nothing happening.
No reporting.
No report. Well, there's this from Euronews.
Another day of protest in Paris for the Yellow Vest demonstrations against President Emmanuel Macron and France's high cost of living. This week, the focus is on a police weapon that fires rubber bullets. It's called the flashball, and a court ruled on Friday that it was legal. But protesters say it's causing them serious injuries. This protester, who injured his foot, said the police measures were excessive. I'm in contact with a large number of injured people, he said, and I can tell you that they were non-violent. I myself am against all forms of violence on either side, demonstrators and police forces. But let's be realistic, there are many more Yellow Vest victims than police. Several protesters say they've lost eyes in the demonstrations. I thought it was important that I be here today to tell my story as a victim, because I think I should never have been wounded. I'm not a hooligan. I'm not someone who throws things at the police. Saturday's protests began the 12th weekend of action since the Gilets jaunes first took to the streets in the middle of November.
Yeah, you kind of miss the visuals in this report where you see people with, eye patches because their eyes have been gouged out by these flashballs.
Yeah.
Getting a flashball to the eye is never a good thing.
No.
And people
wear goggles.
Some people have been blinded. And some people have been killed by someone getting hit in the back of the head with doing these flashballs, and it's just spreading. Maastricht in the tippy top of the bottom of the Netherlands, same thing. Yellow vests protesting. It's just not being covered by the mainstream, and therefore, I guess, doesn't kind of exist.
Well, it doesn't exist to us.
Well, it does exist to us. You and I, it exists.
Well, I mean, there's no agenda. We're aware of it, but it's not. As you pointed out at the beginning of the show, CNN's more concerned about the hat and the meaning of the hat.
The hat, yeah, the hat and Roger Stone. Roger Stone. Oh, I caught this from one of our producers cut this for us. This is Brian Williams. What's a revelation about this Roger Stone arrest?
Barbara, I have to ask you about a point that Roger Stone made that has been dangling out there all week that is in your bailiwick. He says he was never given his Miranda rights, not Mirandizing someone you are arresting. If it's correct that there were 26 officers on that raid, show up at the front door with a battering ram. They know they've got media in the front yard. Failure to Mirandize would be a big deal. Some people straight up don't believe his...
Yeah, so just so everyone understands, when you're arrested and when you're going to be interrogated, you have the right to remain silent, because anything, you've heard this, anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. And it is many famous cases where this has not been done. Someone was questioned. Their rights had not been explained to them, which I think there's still all kinds of weirdness about this actual Mirandizing. But if you're not Mirandized, then there are issues if someone wants to take whatever you said during that time into court and use it, it will be thrown out.
Intention.
Actually, Miranda warnings only kick in if you're going to interrogate a suspect. And so if they didn't Mirandize him and they didn't ask him any questions, that wouldn't be a problem at all. The remedy for failing to Mirandize someone is that their statements to the officers then become inadmissible at trial. So if there was no questioning or interrogation, there would have been no need to Mirandize him. So he may be telling the truth without any problem at all.
It sounds to me like this was more show than we even thought.
Well, the other thing about Mirandizing is more than just using what you said against you, is that anything that comes out of the arrest where they're not Mirandized. In other words, like you do something indicate that in this lockbox, you may find some incriminating evidence.
Wait a minute. So even if they found stuff in his home that they took and he wasn't Mirandized, that's then not properly collected?
What he had said or done gave them a clue to the evidence, yes.
Huh.
But they had a warrant to search anyway, and so they would use that as well. No, we had a warrant, so we're looking around. Well, you wouldn't have looked here if it wasn't for what this guy said, and that would get thrown out.
Okay, that's more than enough on Roger Stone, I think.
Yeah, who cares? I mean, the whole thing is getting more publicity out of this than anything.
Yeah.
Now, Alex Jones did have something. I don't have a clip of it, but he brought up a point that as Obama was leaving office, they put through this, like, I don't know, $300 million bill for the government to go after fake news and propaganda from Russia and all this.
Yes,
sort of thing.
It was a very specific act.
Yeah, and it ended like about 2-3 weeks ago, and the money, it was never renewed, the way he puts it. And he says that money was used by the media to go after Trump.
He says that money went. And the timing is interesting. I have it. I think I put it in the last show notes. I'll look it up. It was a subsidy that went to new media, and his claim and the claim from others is that the reason why you're seeing firing from BuzzFeed and HuffPo and all these other,
and more recently, Vice,
yeah.
laid off 250 people.
Yeah, Vice, to bring it to profitability, they're not even profitable.
Well, you don't need to be profitable if you got 50-60 million bucks from the government to spend.
Well, I have it here. I know it's actually in these show notes. So we also have Snopes is no longer fact checking for Facebook. I think something structural happened.
Yeah.
And I hadn't heard this from InfoWars, but I did hear about this particular pot of money which expired. Let me see if I can find this.
About a month ago.
Yeah, and so then all of a sudden, all these
guys are getting laid off, and the joke, of course, is all these people are being told to learn to code.
Learn to code. That was one of the most beautiful memes ever. That's fantastic,
hey, dude. Hey, laid off journalist, learn to code. That's what you've been telling everybody.
Through this, I did learn what the number one piece of content is on BuzzFeed, and I presume on other outfits like this. It's the quizzes. That's where all of their traffic comes from, the quizzes. Like
quizzes are a good gimmick.
Well, apparently it's as good as the animated GIFs in your newsletter. People love quizzes.
They do.
So it's stuff like what was this?
I'll tell you a couple.
Which Jonas brother are you? Is one of the biggest, most successful ones. People love this stuff, and that's really where BuzzFeed was making their money, or still is, I presume.
Yeah. Well, they laid off a lot of people.
Yeah, Vice laid off 10% of their workforce.
Yeah. Learn the code, man.
No, you cannot monetize the network. That is my mantra, and I am sticking to it.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab.
Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
And we do have a few people to thank, starting with Sir Marcellus from, I don't know where he is. He wants stock tips, he says. We don't do stock tips.
Yeah, I got a stock tip. Nokia.
Nokia's an old stock
keep
tip.
your eye on it.
You can't legally give stock tips because what happens, you give one and this guy loses money, he can sue you. So don't even think about giving stock tips.
Okay, it was just, I'm sorry. You're so
Sir Marcellus, $165.16. No, there's a whole rigmarole involved with giving stock tips.
Okay. Well, I'm not giving a stock tip. It was being sarcastic.
Ah, you sarcastic bastard. You have to read between the lines for stock tips. Dame Elizabeth, Poughkeepsie, New York, $131. Sir Marcellus is $165.16.
Hold on. She has something to say here. On January 31st, my husband, Sir Big Johnson, we know him all, made a donation that was special to me. For me, show day was not only my birthday, but an exciting job interview for me. For some reason, his note didn't make it to you, so I didn't get his special job karma. But I did get the birthday shout out. Turns out both of us could use job karma as we're both waiting to hear on job propositions. Please help us out. We need your show now more than ever. It's Dame Elizabeth and Sir Big Johnson. They get that right away.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
We break for knights and dames.
Anonymous in San Francisco, $113.33. We're going to put some job karma at the end of the thing for him because he sees the Google bus going by his house every day and he works for some utility. Wouter Janmot.
Very good.
In Amsterdam, 110.90. No jingles. Well, you're not going to get them. Sarah Perry sent a note in. She's from Hanson, Kentucky, $110. Different Sarah. We have a lot of Sarahs. But I felt that I needed to read her note. It's very well, a nice note. It came at $110.20. I listened to No Agenda 1102, Killer Crickets, and was somewhat triggered. I'm from Kentucky, not New York. The government, in its infinite wisdom, gave each state 50, not 57, a two-letter identifier. When it first went into effect, the small town in Hopkins County, White Plains, Kentucky, KY, and the bigger city, White Plains, New York, were mixed up a lot. On a map, Kentucky is between north and south, but for me, I'm southern. The Yankees burned our Hopkins County courthouse during the War of Northern Aggression, as the South would say. I think they should apologize for burning down our courthouse, don't you?
And then they stole your White Plains?
But no apology. And today, some of it are at it again with the destruction or removal of our monuments. Is there fear the South will rise again?
Yeah.
Sarcasm.
In
closing, I would like to request a health karma for Davis Lerman, who was diagnosed with lymphatic cancer.
Oh, well, we don't. We have a different kind of karma for that. Can I do this? Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got karma.
John Robinet, $100. Matthew Cole Perricone, $100. He loved the song, the Roger Stone, Like a Roger Stone song, which was in the last show. It's quite funny. Yeah. Douglas Engstrom, $100.
He says there's a portion of my overtime due to the polar vortex. He's a railroader from Pennsylvania. Go Vortex.
Go Railroads.
Yeah, thanks.
Baron Latikin, $100. Sir, a dude named Ben, Knight of the Help Desk, 8086.
Thank you. Is that, what kind of
Professor Anonymous in Fullerton, California, 77.77. Please don't use my name. No.
Hold on.
I've been listening to your.
Read this.
Professor.
It's interesting. Read this.
Yeah, I've been listening to your incredible podcast for less than a year. Working in a California university is welcome respite. It's a welcome respite from the insane liberalism that surrounds me. For now, let's just say this. A lot of what's wrong is academia's fault. We are brainwashing America's youth. First, it was feminism and Marxism, now an almost religious blend of cultural Marxism and identity politics. It poisons everything, and our graduates go on to staff the BuzzFeeds of the world.
Oh, my.
Much more later.
Clearly, this Professor Anonymous has no tenure.
Maybe not.
Well, if he does, then I think it's his duty to stand up and say these things.
Oh, no. You can lose tenure, you know.
No.
It's not like we're set in stone.
What kind of bogus racket is that? I thought tenure, the whole idea is you're tenured and you can speak your mind. And
you'd think that's like being a fellow at IBM.
Yeah.
You still get fired.
Oh, okay.
Paul van de Cordelaar and IJmuiden in the Netherlands, 75. He's going to be a knight, I guess.
Well, let me read this. Only one day until knighthood, but couldn't wait any longer. Your sarcasm piece on Ben Shapiro was excellent. I actually listen to Ben's show often. Yeah, a lot of people do. And we also said that he's not wrong. I couldn't figure out why sometimes I miss out weeks. You nailed it on show 1108. I had the same issue with other podcasts, by the way, but not with No Agenda. What a great show the two of you make. One of the last shows of 2018, John said, all we do is talk about the news just a bit more in depth. You were selling yourself short there, John. Although it might feel easy for you after all those years. You're both very skilled in what you do. I can't even remember what my view of the M5M was in 2017, but I seem to be disagreeing a lot more with a lot of people these days. Apart from all the deconstruction you do, the show brings me lots of laughter, sometimes attracting strange looks from people around me. Yeah, that's how it starts. For my knighthood, please knight me, Sir von Cordelaar, fish head of the lowlands. Mussels and mayonnaise would be appreciated at the round table. Thanks for all you do. I hope this will be a good donation year, so all you douchebags that are still listening for free, chip in. Can I get some house buying karma as I'm dealing with a difficult, dishonest, cheating realtor? All the best from the lowlands. And yes, Paul will be knighting you in just a few minutes. Looking forward to it. Karma coming up after the whole list. And I'll put the mussels and mayonnaise on deck for the
list
for the round table right now.
Sir Phenom comes up next at $70.99 from Appleton, Wisconsin. Nice little note. Thank you, John. Sir Phenom, Jonathan Diggle, $69.69. He's looking for some jobs. Karma, we'll put that at the end for you. Sir Got Nate in Sebastopol, California, a regular donor, $69.69. Sir Baron Mark Tanner, a twice monthly donor, $67.89 in Whittier, California. Alex Perkins in Alexandria, Virginia, $6,006. He wants to donate for the show 11/11, which is also his birthday. We're giving you the birthday call out today. Sir Gabe, $60. Nicholas Oman, $55.55. Alex Gates, $55.45. And another dude named Ben. Listening for about 6 months, finally landed a new job. Open source alternative to Skype. Oh, really?
Tina had the best line the other day. I have my talking tube, Mycroft, which is the open source version of a talking tube, which is great because you maintain it. It's not spying on you. You keep all the data. And of course, it sucks a little bit. We know, we've tried it on the show.
Yeah, sucks a lot.
And here's and I say to Tina, I said, well, it's a little bit slow. And she says, yeah, it's open source. She's figured it out. She has equated open source to wonky, junky stuff that doesn't quite work the way you expect it, which is true.
Programmed in the fourth FORT
or Lisp. Yeah.
Lisp is faster.
Now, it's not what I feel about open source, but to her, a consumer with some just more technical knowledge than most, I understand the equation of wonky crap. It was wonky performing stuff to, it's open source.
Well, Alex, keep us apprised. James McClure, 5510. By the way, he also commented on the sarcasm commentary he thought was great. Christopher Retger in Metetsi, Wyoming. There's actually a town named Meetese, like Metetsi, like Metetsi fly.
How do you pronounce it? Metetsi?
Well, I guess.
Or Metetsi.
Yeah, Metetsi. Metetsi. Itetse. Sir Tom Dari in DeForest, Wisconsin, 5510. Eric Hokel, back to Unicode. Now I can't see it anymore.
That's right.
Mulrose, Deutschland. Greg Miller in Indianapolis, Indiana, 5188. He's a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Sir Loud Pipes, 5008.
Hold on a second. This is Greg Miller. Let me read. This is horrible.
Oh.
I requested de-douching. It's been a while since I donated, probably under my old email address. I used to listen with my son, a metal drummer who was shot and killed delivering Chinese food in 2015. This is horrible.
That's terrible.
And I also like some cancer karma for my friend and coworker Lara. And he's in the troll room probably right now as we speak. I'm going to give that. I'm fighting cancer.
You've got karma.
I'm fighting it.
This is the kind of thing that will drive people nuts, which is, I believe, part of random number theory. This is why if you get on a roll at a craps table, you should probably, to put some aside, but start just doubling up because you might have a long run. And that is bad things happen to you, or good things, but bad things will happen to you in groups of three. This is why this superstition about the three celebrities always dies, three of them. And it could be 4, it could be 10, but it's always a grouping. And it really takes a lot of people out of the game because they have a bad thing happen to him. The son death is terrible. And now he's got then his co-worker's got this issue, and it's saddening. And so that, I would expect to try changing something in your pattern of behavior.
Yeah, but I don't think you can stop the
Well,
the power
here's
of
what I
three.
think. I don't believe that's true. Like, for example, if you're at the craps table and you think there's a roll going on and we're just going to run it, just get away from the craps table. That will stop it. Here's what I do. When I get a speeding ticket, and I only get them once in a while, I change all of my driving behaviors for at least a month. Because I noticed is when I was younger, you'd get a ticket, then you get a ticket the next week. And you get bang, bang, bang. You get 3 tickets all of a sudden.
How many tickets have you? I don't think I've gotten a ticket in 30 years.
You don't go fast enough.
I don't have that swanky Lexus, 30-year-old Lexus to tootle around in. They're probably pulling you over just to make sure you belong on the road.
Hey, what are you doing driving a crabbed Lexus?
Hey, we can't track this car. How old is this thing?
Yeah, they can't track it. That is the absolute that's the feature of the car. It's not trackable. All right, onward. Sir Loud Pipes with 5008. I just mentioned the random donation addition to his monthly. And now the following people are $50 donors, name and location. Scott Knight in Las Vegas, Nevada. Eric Brown in Gloucester, Massachusetts. Sir Uncle Cave Bear, or Buddy Uncle Cave Bear. Thanks for working on Super Bowl.
And he did the art for the last show. We appreciate that.
Yeah, he's on a roll.
Wait, he's thanking us for working on Super Bowl. Oh yeah, it's so hard for me to work during a major sporting event.
It is hard for me. I'd rather listen. Believe me, I would rather be in the other room, kind of sweating my way into becoming one with the couch, listening to nonstop boring analysis. Okay. Oh, we think they're going to do this. Oh, we think they're going to do that. Oh, we think they're going to do this. Let's match up the quarterbacks. I think he's better than that guy. I think he's better than that guy. No, I think he's better than that guy.
Opening
clip. It's very easy to work through.
Okay, I got a time code. Good.
I hate Super Bowl analysis.
God, a
two-game analysis is dumb.
You've got so many great clips to open the show with. It's just fantastic.
Just do a show with them. Paul Eaton, 50. These are all $50 donors. Robert Drykeson, Roy Pingle, Jeremy Cartwright in Rockford, Illinois, Andrew Oxenham in Santa Ana, California. We got to do another LA meetup. Bradley Ledden, 50 from Parts Unknown. Sir Brian Watson in Raleigh, North Carolina, a regular. Sir Brett Farrell, a regular in Oklahoma City. And last but not least, another regular, Jason Deluzio in Chatsford, Pennsylvania. I want to thank all these folks for supporting us, making the show possible, and contributing to the production of show 1109.
Yes, thank you very much. Also, everyone who came in under $50 for anonymity, or you're on one of our subscription programs. Also wanted to mention that Nicholas Oman wanted jobs karma for his wife. We'll throw that in. Good news from Greg Miller. Well, good news. He was in the chat room. He said the gangbanger from Jersey who killed his son has been rotting in jail. So that's some solace. Just to complete that story.
Well, I want to also thank Andrew Jones, the Baron of America's Mountain.
Yes.
He sent me a huge bag of sorghum flour.
Ooh.
From the good slaves of Colorado Springs. He says, once John discovers the best method of preparation, can we get a pairing of mac and cheese with a side of sorghum?
Oh, my goodness.
For the slaves, not the round table.
That sounds good.
Not for the round table. I think it's, I'm looking into it. It looks like you can just make it a straight one-to-one substitution with wheat and a lot of things.
Now, can you make sorghum sourdough with the sorghum flour?
I don't see why not.
I'm curious how that would taste.
I don't know how it would attack the sorghum. Sorghum doesn't seem to have a lot of gluten, if any. And I'm not sure that I don't know if the sourdough is going after the gluten. I don't know what this product sorghum should be available at Costco. They should carry this. I would think so. I mean, it's the number 3 grain in the world.
Except no one knows about it here. We won't even eat horse.
And a horse is very edible. It's very good, very tasty, delicious.
Very tasty. I agree. So thank you all very much. Nice showing today. It's highly appreciated. This is our value for value system, and we have many ways for you to contribute. We have our artists. We have people who make clips. We've got a ton of great mixes for today's show. I'll just give you the credits right now. We've got, Sir Chris Wilson from Australia, Tom Starkweather and his partner Alex. We got Gary, and UKPMX is back, coincidentally with a mac and cheese mix. And that would be an audio mix, not a sorghum mix. So that is coming up. Reminder about our meetups. I have to be very diligent because my ass is still glowing from the burning I've received from Mimi. Although none of it's my fault, but okay. And we need to use noagendameetups.com, which apparently is operational. Did you know this was an operational site?
Yes. It was done by one of the friends of the show.
Well, I didn't know this, but that's where we need to be doing our meetups, and hopefully the following 3 will be listed there. If not, they should be sometime this weekend. First one is Des Moines, Iowa, February 22nd. Details still being fleshed out.
Actually, they found Mimi and the guy that's organizing it in Des Moines got together, and they found a brew pub that's perfect.
Good. That's Tattinger, I think. Is that Brian? No, I have to look it up.
Something.
March 2nd, Austin Beer Works in Austin, Texas at 3:33 p.m.
33 seconds.
That's right. This will be the big one. I'm looking forward to it. And then March 3rd, I don't know if this is on noagendameetups.com, but it has to be. DC Girl, as far as I know, is the instigator of it'll be the Arlington, Virginia, but it's also the Maryland and the overall Spook Meetup. March 3rd in...
a spook meetup.
Yeah, it's a spook meetup.
A spook up.
Cafe Pazaiolo in Shirlington. It'll all be in the show notes, but also make sure you check noagendameetups.com. And I believe that DC Girl went to George Washington University.
Okay. That's different than Georgetown.
Now, George Washington University, I think, is also important.
Oh, they're probably all spookers.
Yeah, well, but we love DC Girl. She's everywhere.
Well, good. We need people like that.
she said
keeping track of the show to make sure we're not going off.
She's in the troll room. She's in the troll room going, I did go there. It is a spook university. I spotted a spook. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of spooks there, and she may be one too.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah, we do. We hope so.
Yeah, we're on the good side of the spooks. And the dude's name, Ben. We're going to survive the apocalypse, everybody.
Somehow.
Thank you again for
Unless
contributing.
Some rogue doesn't like us.
Remember, we have another show coming up on Thursday. We'd love for you to join in and support us any way you can, particularly if you can do it financially. Go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
Needed Karmas.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's your birthday.
And here we go for, I got a new month. It's the 3rd of February, 2019. 2 birthdays on the list. We got Sir Woody of the Falls, who turned 72 yesterday, and he still reads the newspaper without his glasses. And Alex Perkins celebrates on the 10th. We say happy birthday to you from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. 2 knightings on deck here, so... Ow! Let me get the sword first. There we go. Do you have
I got mine out already.
Is that... Oh, I see it. Is that... do you keep it under your squeaky chair? Because, man, if I get one more email or tweet about your squeaky chair...
Yeah.
I kind of like it, personally.
Well, the more they complain, the more we keep doing it.
That's right! And that's why we like Rob van Dijk, and Paul van Cordelaar. Wait, the Dutch Knights are in the house. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your support of the best podcast in the universe. The amount of $1,000 or more. I'm very proud to pronounce the KD with the following titles. Sir Bob of the Clueless Country and Sir Van Cordelaar, Fishhead of the Lowlands. For you, we've got mussels and mayonnaise, cookies and vodka, hookers and blow, rent boys and Chardonnay, Dr. Pepper and a quick handy, organic macaroni and plasticizers. We got harlots and handle, Rubenesque and rosé, breast milk and pablum, ginger ale and gerbils, bong hits and bourbon, geishas and sake, and mutton and mead. And I'm sure the Dutch will like that. Nice to have the Dutch Knights, Dutch royalty with us today. Time. It is about. Well, we have a number of them, but it's nice to see these guys joining the round table of our No Agenda Knights and Dames. And if you go to noagendanation.com/rings, that will take you to a place where you can give Eric the Shill your info, as well as your ring size. And please tweet out anything you have when you receive it, which would be the ring, the signet ring, the sealing wax, your certificate. And happy to retweet. Show everyone how cool we are. And such. That's all I need to say, right? And such. Right. Before we didn't do this on the last show, I just wanted to do a quick, because of this. I guess now it's the whole Roe v. Wade, Virginia, New York abortion bills have been such a contentious, just a contentious topic. Everyone has an opinion, but no one just reads the damn law to just say what is and is not legal. And the reason I figured we'd do this is Kathy Tran from Virginia, Democrat from Virginia, who wrote the bill. She's kind of doubled down with just, kind of fuzzy language, and I wanted to play that.
Hi, I'm Kathy Tran, and I represent the 42nd District in the Virginia House of Delegates. I know women in my family, women in my district, and women across Virginia who've had to make the very personal decision as to whether or not they're going to have an abortion. That's why I introduced a bill to repeal the medically unnecessary and unduly burdensome barriers that Virginian women face when they're accessing this health care service in consultation with their doctor. I presented my bill this week, and I was really surprised by the line of questioning that I got. This bill had been introduced in the General Assembly in previous years, and in fact, this session was also introduced in our state Senate. I want to be very clear about what's currently allowed in Virginia law. Right now, women are able to access an abortion in the later stages of pregnancy under certain conditions with the approval of medical doctors. I've done nothing to change that. What I have done is try to make sure that women are able to make these decisions and access these services in a timely manner. Since the bill hearing, I've heard from many women in my district and across Virginia who support my efforts to make sure that politicians don't get between a woman and her health care decisions. I appreciate their support, and I will continue to stand with the women in Virginia.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is fine. So this was this third trimester, as far as I know, was not law. It has been proposed before, and she made a few small changes. I think it's just helpful if we just read what is actually in the proposed bill, and then you'll have that information. So you'll know, because it's not that hard. It's, I'm a legislation analyst, but this is just English. It is not difficult. So this is specifically about 18.2-74, when abortion or termination of pregnancy is lawful after the second trimester of pregnancy. So that is after between 24 and 40 weeks, which means any time in that period. It shall be lawful for any physician licensed by the Board of Medicine to practice medicine and surgery to terminate or attempt to terminate a human pregnancy or aid or assist in the termination of a human pregnancy by performing an abortion or causing a miscarriage on any woman in a stage of pregnancy subsequent to the second trimester, provided that the following conditions are met. So that's pretty simple. If you're a certified doctor, you can do this. If, number one, said operation is performed in a hospital licensed by the Virginia State Department of Health or operated by the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Sciences. I believe this to be the actual problem in this bill, because this is not necessary up until the third trimester. It can be done in a clinic, and hospitals do not want abortions in their facilities. That's the biggest problem with access to this particular service. Hospitals don't want the bad PR. That's why you've got shitty-ass clinics. But that's just an aside. 2, the physician certifies, so this is second, this has to be adhered to in order for this to be legal. The physician certifies and enters in the hospital record of the woman that in the physician's medical opinion, based upon the physician's best clinical judgment, the continuation of the pregnancy is likely to result in the death of the woman impair the mental or physical health of the woman. So I think that the impair the mental health of the woman is an issue for a lot of people because that's open to wide interpretation. Third, measures for life support for the product of such abortion or miscarriage shall be available, which does not mean it has to be available. That's legally, shall means it could be available and utilized if there's any clearly visible evidence of viability. And then finally, before performing any abortion or inducing any miscarriage or terminating a pregnancy as provided in the aforementioned, the physician shall obtain the informed written consent of the pregnant woman. However, if the woman has been adjudicated incapacitated by any court or competent jurisdiction, or the physician knows or has good reason to believe such a woman is incapacitated as adjudicated by a court or of competent jurisdiction, then only after permission is given in writing by a parent, guardian, committee, or another person standing and local parents of the woman may the physician perform the abortion. So, yes, to say that no one will do this when the woman is dilating may be true, but technically it's possible. And the technical issue that I see is if the physician believes the mother's mental health may be affected by the birth, then this is legal, literally up until the child is born. So that is the factual information. Anything else you hear is just posturing and bullcrap. I have two things to say personally. One, Tina and I met through the Ronald McDonald House. That's where we met, and I've been a supporter of Ronald McDonald House for a long time. Their family rooms, because they have the house and then they have family rooms, the number one use of the family rooms, which are in hospitals where people who typically have children in the... Could you be a little quieter with whatever you're doing?
Yeah, sorry.
You're paging through the law. Okay, I got it. You're looking in your law books. The number one use of the Ronald McDonald House family rooms is for premature babies born at 24 weeks who survive. So I just want to say, for me personally, it's like, wow, 24 weeks, that's a long time to make a decision about an abortion. And I've seen lots of children survive this. What are you doing? It's so loud.
It shouldn't be.
It's really loud.
I'm looking for some paper.
Second thing I'd like to say, I hope you're with me.
I'm listening.
I personally feel that as a parent, you should be able to kill your child up until they're 13 or 14 because they can be assholes.
Sarcasm.
Yeah, there's my sarcasm.
The guy's right.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So that's all I got. That's the law, and anything else anyone says, any posturing, the physician the governor who was now he has a bunch of other problems.
The governor's in trouble.
He was a little disingenuous. He was only talking about physical deformities. But yeah, that's the law. That's all there is to it. It's in the show notes. You can print it out. You can take it along. Someone has an argument. You say, here's what the law says. That's all you got to do. Everything you hear is just a bunch of dickheads, typically men, by the way, who know it better, including the governor.
Well, that doesn't preclude the woman herself when she gave testimony and pretty much said the baby could be half born and they have to kill it.
That's true.
Yeah, it's true.
That's my point. That's my point. It's legal. Yes.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't preclude anything. What I hate about this, what I really despise, is that this is all about politics. It has nothing to do, if you think that your Democrat liberal politicians are out there trying to protect your rights, or if you think that some a-hole Republican politicians are trying to protect babies' rights, it has nothing to do with it. It's about votes. And here's Governor Cuomo of New York just abusing this and abusing women for votes.
Kavanaugh is going to reverse Roe v. Wade. I have no doubt.
No, he's
Gorsuch is going to reverse Roe v. Wade. I have no doubt. So what do? Protect ourselves. Pass a state law that is a prophylactic from the federal action, and that means pass Roe, reproduce Reproductive Health Act and the Contraceptive Care Act.
It's all that it's about. It's just about winning votes. Disgusting.
Well, there's that, but I think what he's really doing there, which is kind of ironic, is he's pushing states' rights.
That's exactly right.
It's very ironic because the Democrats have never been for states' rights. They think everything should be in the hands of the federal government.
Yeah, but
now they're going for states' rights. It's a reversal.
That's the old Democratic Party. It has nothing to do with this.
Well, I still think we should play the 58-second clip.
Which one is it?
Virginia bill on abortion, where they have the woman who wrote the bill that you just read, word for word, being grilled by one of the state senators in Virginia.
So how late in the third trimester would you be able to do that?
You know, it's very unfortunate that our physicians, witnesses, were not able to attend today to speak specifically.
No, I'm talking about your bill. How late in the third trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
Or physical health.
Okay. I'm talking about the mental health.
So, I mean, through the third trimester. The third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay. But to the end of the third trimester.
Yep. I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
So, where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth, she has physical signs that she is about to give a birth, would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman would
I understand
make
that. I'm asking if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for it. I just like it televised. I want it televised. I want our executions televised. I want all of this. Killing people should be televised. Let's be honest about it. It's not sarcasm. I've said this for years. Televise it. Let's see if we all like it. I like capital. I want execution.
Televised killing the baby.
Yes. Oh, God. I want televised executions. I want everything should be televised. Why not? It's reality TV. It's the hottest format.
Well, it would put the kibosh, which is a word I only use
rarely,
reservedly.
Reservedly. Like a rare cognac.
The kibosh or kibosh, as some people would like to pronounce it. It would put the kibosh on any of these activities because it's gruesome.
Yeah, well.
I mean, an electrocution. I don't know. Maybe people get. I mean, they used to go to the town halls and watch the hangings and the people getting shot and all the other executions. At least we were led to believe that when they were chopping off heads.
Oh yeah.
During the French Revolution, we understand from reports that the huge crowds would gather. And then the knife would come down and chop off somebody's head, and the head would go rolling into a bucket, and everyone would cheer. So I don't know that it would put a stop to it.
No, it wouldn't. It would be. I also feel that we should have live telecasts of how your beef is made, how your chicken is culled. All of this is, not just one little documentary, a live channel. Yeah, on your Alexa, what's that screen thing they've got now, or the Google Hole screen. All of that. The Google Hole, the Google Assistant. You should be able to show me where it should be on the carton. A QR code.
Code number. You can see how that particular cow was
killed. Yeah, see the electrode going in. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest.
Some guys butcher them up, and then they hold up the steak that you just bought and say, "Look, there's the steak you just bought."
Yeah, woo! Even the fish you're eating, just show how the hook's in there and they rip the hook out, chop his head off, gut him while he's living. Yes, why not? If we're going to be honest, let's be honest.
You already said you want to kill kids until they're 13, so I'm not.
Well, that's as a parent. I think you should be able to kill your own kid. Just I think kids are this one's no good.
So here we go. Let's play. Let's get to. I just want to get one clip. How are we for time?
Last clip.
All right, I've got a clip here on I think this is underreported story about the fake school that was used to lure a bunch of douchebags into signing up, but they were all illegal immigrants.
Oh, I don't know anything about this.
Not reported by the mainstream media at all.
Oh, I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, of course not, because nobody was reporting on it. It's a fake school, underreported.
Details have emerged about how the Department of Homeland Security set up a fake college in Michigan as part of an elaborate sting operation to crack down on immigration violations. The website of the University of Farmington claimed to be a nationally accredited business and STEM institution. But in fact, the school did not exist. Earlier this week, 8 student recruiters were indicted for conspiring to help foreign citizens enroll in the fake school in an attempt for them to remain in the country illegally. In addition, immigration agents have arrested about 130 people who attempted to enroll in the school.
Wait a minute. You mean they pulled like a honeypot like the FBI does with idiot people who they turn into terrorists, and these people wanted to actually learn. They wanted to go to school, and that was the honeypot?
Yeah.
No, that's not cool, man. That's not okay. No, that's not cool.
Well, must have been some other element. I mean, they're not going to go into any details on Democracy Now!, of course, because they never do. Huh. But it must have been something about it that was the lure to some.
Yeah, people wanted to learn. People wanted to learn, and then you're nailed.
No.
I find that
there must have been some indicators that I don't know.
I
have to look into it. No thanks to you.
You're welcome. Work. All right, everybody. That's it. Now you may now return to your regularly scheduled sport distraction. Goat power.
Power.
I'm coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region 6 on the governmental maps if you are looking for me, in the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I say, go Rams, build a wall, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday right here. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos, and such.
Mac and cheese. The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. Like, this is the war. This is our World War II. Mac and cheese. Sometimes I just feel like people aren't being held accountable. Mac and cheese. The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. Like, this is the war. This is our World War II. Mac and cheese. Sometimes I just feel like people aren't being held accountable. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Let's see. Wedge.
Breaking news. A sitting Democratic governor admitting tonight he is in the photo you're about to see.
But I believe then and now that I am not either of the people in that photo.
Have at it if you want to go through my yearbook.
Yeah, I'm actually interested,
It is definitely not me. I can tell by looking at it. I have had friends also look at it and tell me it's not me.
Beach Week Ralph Club biggest contributor. What does the word Ralph mean in that?
That probably refers to throwing up. I'm known to have a weak stomach. And
this was a horrific photo that was on my page with my name, Ralph Northam above.
So the vomiting that you reference in the Ralph Club reference related to the consumption of alcohol.
On my page of the 1984 Eastern Virginia Medical School yearbook.
Have at it if you want to go through my yearbook.
Yeah, I'm actually interested,
For now, Governor Northam will be kept comfortable. You can be certain of that. He'll be resuscitated if that's what his party desires.
It is definitely not me.
Either you stand with the forces of freedom or you're in league with Maduro and his mail.
When Maduro comes out to play, we'll send in the CIA. Nicky Guido now through the door, swear him in, vote no more. And we let our global sanctions squeeze, $1 billion asset freeze, until you make a firm decree that guarantees democracy. You You don't want another civil war or us funding a military coup. You'll be worse than Mozambique by the end of the week. You can see that we know everything long before it begins. Venezuela is our cash cow. You will lose, so give up now.
God, this is so evil.
It's great.
It's evil. It's just evil. And
yeah, but what's the evil part?
Oh, just how the world works. Well, it's nothing new to us, but if people really understood, just take a random college kid. He said, hey, this is actually how it still kind of works.
Where are you from?
BBC.
Here's another beauty.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful. I hope that we're able to get everybody in a very big and beautiful room and do a new treaty that would be much better. And we're going to have that big, beautiful door in the wall. He wrote me beautiful letters. To me, he's not lying Ted anymore. What is he now? Beautiful Ted. One of the things that we will discuss is the purchase of lots of beautiful military equipment because nobody makes it like the United States. And at the very center of that plan is a giant, beautiful, massive, the biggest ever in our country, tax cut. It really could be a beautiful bipartisan type of situation. We had the most beautiful piece of chocolate cake that you've ever seen.
And I noticed all that beautiful barbed wire going up today. It was barbed wire used properly can be a beautiful sight.
Reluctantly, John Podesta declines. Hillary's going to be running this time. Campaign news flashes, the posters go up. Churning and burning, she's going for Trump. She deftly maneuvers and muscles her rank. Corporate donations and funding from banks. Reckless and wild, the media fawns. The DNC yields, she maneuvers her pawns. As they speed towards the finish, the opposition goes down. Others give up and they get out of town. The White House is hers, except for one man still slamming and scamming as long as she can. The sun has gone down and the moon has come up. And last election clearly was stolen by Trump. But she's driving, conniving and changing the terms. So she'll be the president, the job for which she still yearns. She's going the distance. She's going to lead. She's all alone in a time of greed. Because she's scheming and memeing, collecting each dime. She's fighting and biting, lying all the time. She's going the distance.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA